Good day, we are presenting on Nigerian foreign policy under military regimes. My name is Adeyemi Tiwalade with country number 1805033103, Department of Political Science, and these are my group members.
My name is Mulika Tamadolo Atoyin, matric number 180-50307, Political Science Department.
My name is Alamola Yinka Abbas, matric number 180-604-121, Public Admin.
My name is Alifarati Enela Yanulua, matric number 180-50-3161, Department of Political Science.
My name is Saladimija Abimbola Decolonization, matric number 180-50-3115, Department of Political Science.
Good day, my name is Akita Joloashi Nipo, matric number 180-503-189, Department of Political Science.
Thank you. My name is Obasanjo, matric number 180-209-139, Department of Political Science Education.
My name is Akimile Wabamikole, matric number 180-503-117, Department of Political Science.
My name is Abidakun Oluwabusa Omasi, matric number 180-60-40-085, Department of Public Administration.
My name is Olafide Luwafemi Yeniola, matric number 180-2090-85, Department of Political Science Education.
My name is Bonsu Ayomi Blessing, matric number 180-503-169, Department of Political Science.
My name is Usiola Bayomi Ayodeji, matric number 180-50-30-10, Political Science.
My name is Obusa Akemsola Adibura, matric number 180-20-91-74, Political Science Education.
I'm Lubi Bolabo Steven, matric number 180-20-9159, Political Science Education.
I am Olontoba Emmanuel Buku, matric number 180-20-91-77, Political Science Education.
My name is Akinfaye Dayola, matric number 180-50-30-19, Political Science.
I'm Babatunde Oluwaseyi Adaramura, matric number 180-50-30-16, Political Science.
Now let's begin. Nigerian foreign policy under the military regimes has witnessed different changes, which has been occasioned by different regimes in power. Let's take for instance the likes of General Aguiyi-Ironsi, which was the first head of state in January 15, 1966. He was able to what? To promote economic growth. That is, Aguiyi-Ironsi was able to promote economic growth of Africa at the ECOWAS level. ECOWAS was formed in 1975, and Aguiyi-Ironsi was able to integrate Nigeria into the ECOWAS. And one of his missions under the foreign policies is to propel the administration of Nigeria in what? At the economic level. And also, we have regional integration. Being the first military head of state, he was able to integrate Africans, particularly Nigeria, to what? To unite together and form the ECOWAS, form ECOWAS. And that was when they were able to integrate Nigeria into the ECOWAS system. However, some of his failures include that, despite the fact that Aguiyi-Ironsi was able to promote economic development in Nigeria, there is still high dependency on the Europeans. That is, despite the fact that Aguiyi-Ironsi was able to bring foreign investment into Nigeria under his administration, there was economic dependency, and that economic dependency actually caused Nigerians to depend on what? On the foreign power for what? For assistance.
I'm talking about the General Yakubu Gowon administration. In his administration, he made use of the pro-Eastern method, in which civil war happened during that tenure, and the people that supplied weapons in the civil war was the eastern part. That's why it was called the Pro-Max. So in this, in General Yakubu Gowon, they made use of the principle of non-interference. Now to General Murtala Mohammed. General Murtala Mohammed brought about African solidarity and institutional leadership and good governance. in his speech, he was like, Nigeria should no longer be scared of any other nation. This boldness brought about the elimination of General Murtala Mohammed regime.
Nigerian policy under General Olusegun Obasanjo was based on the politics, engagement, and political stability in Africa and Nigeria, and he tried to harness the African countries together to form a united front against the Western world. And among his achievements was regional stability and leadership in Africa. He was able to also intervene in the Chad civil war and Sierra Leone. And General Ibrahim Babangida also, he introduced the structural adjustment program to establish also under the regime of Ibrahim Babangida. He introduced the structural adjustment program, and he also intervened in some wars in African countries, and he sent some military men to peacekeeping in some other countries. Thanks.
I'll be talking on the Nigerian foreign policy under General Sani Abacha. I'll be talking about his achievements, his failure, and the factor that influenced his foreign policy. The achievement of General Sani Abacha's Nigerian foreign policy between the year 1993 and 1998 was marked with some notable successes, which includes: number one, General Sani Abacha successfully sought to consolidate his regional cooperation within African region by actively taking participation in the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, and African Union. Also, General Sani Abacha's administration managed to improve the diplomatic ties between other countries such as United States, China, and the rest, which increased the economic cooperation and the investment opportunity. His initiative in promoting peace and stability, especially during the Liberian and Sierra Leone civil war, was praised by the international community. However, Abacha's administration was marred with some failures. One of the failures include the strained relationship with Western power, such as especially with the United States and United Kingdom, which actually lead the economic sanction and diplomatic isolation. Also, another failure of Sani Abacha was his personal leadership interest, personal leadership style, which was characterized by autocracy and his centralized power in making decisions. The strained relationship with Western power was due to the concern of the human rights violation and the lack of democratic process and principle. Another failure of Sani Abacha's administration was his support for authoritarian regimes in some countries like Sudan and Libya, which arises criticism and diminished Nigeria as a proponent of democratic principle. There are three major factors that influence the Nigerian foreign policy under Sani Abacha's administration. Number one is the domestic consideration. Number two is his personal interest, and the number three is the geopolitical consideration. Number one, the domestic consideration, it has to do with how Sani Abacha consolidates power and reduces internal dissent. The second one is his personal leadership style, which is characterized by autocracy and centralization of decision-making power. General Sani Abacha's administration works a mixture of both achievement and failure. While it tries to regionalize power and also to promote some certain things, it is however necessary to know that One of the failures of Sani Abacha's regime was his strained relationship with the Western power, his violation of human rights, and also his lack of democratic power.
However, I will be speaking on the foreign policy of Nigeria under General Abubakar, who was the military director of the state of Nigeria between 1998 to 1999. General Abubakar became the head of state of Nigeria immediately after the death of General Sani Abacha in 1998. However, it should be noted that the aims and objectives of General Abubakar's foreign policy never really deviated from the aims and objectives of the foreign policy of earlier military head of states, such that it always focused on economic diplomacy, conflict resolution, regional liberation, and also other factors. However, it should be noted that General Abubakar's foreign policy never came without its achievements and failures. I will be speaking on the achievements here. The achievement is two major notable achievements, which includes: one, he was able to prioritize the restoration of Nigeria's diplomatic relations with international communities, especially the European powers, which was followed by the constrained ties during the military regime of General Sani Abacha. Through his dedication to democratic transition, it was able to convince international government and organizations such that it was able to lift the economic sanction in Nigeria, and it restored the international aid also in the country. Also, it should be noted that his foreign policy also focused on conflict resolution efforts within West Africa, mostly in Sierra Leone and Liberia, whereby General Abubakar was able to play a pivotal role in the process of restoring peace, and also restoring peace in Liberia and Sierra Leone, and also the restoration of the region. However, I'm going to talk about the major failures of his foreign policy also. His foreign policy also had two major failures, such that it includes the following. One, his foreign policy was unable to fully address the issue of ethnic and religious tension within Nigeria that continues to pose challenges to Nigeria's national unity. Although his foreign policy also made efforts to promote diplomacy and alliances in Nigeria within international level, but this was short-lived as a result of the short run of his administration, whereby it hindered the implementation of the long-term economic strategies involved in his foreign policy. However, I'll be taking the conclusion now and the recommendation. Understanding Nigeria's foreign policy under military regime through the historical context and consequences is very crucial for Nigeria, such that it is going to help to shape further foreign policy decision making in Nigeria that will bring about a greater and boost the economic diplomacy and regional integration, and also bring about good governance in Nigeria. However, in a bid to make all these aims and objectives very visual and feasible in Nigeria, we are going to make certain recommendations for the Nigerian government, which includes: one, there should be more focus on economic development; two, there should be protection of fundamental human rights at all costs; three, there should be promotion of regional liberation; there should also be the focus on climate change. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, after all said and done, we can realize that the foreign policy of Nigeria under the military administration actually witnessed different changes. But let us also note that these changes have been occasioned by the different regimes in power. While some military regimes were being praised for their roles in the foreign policy of Nigeria, some were even lashed to the extent that due to their brutal foreign policy, which actually affected some Nigerians. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is where we are stopping on Nigerian foreign policy under military administration in Nigeria.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ogundari Henry Ayodeji, and this is Group 16. We are here to talk on the evaluation of Nigeria global economic relations. Thank you. My name is Ogundari Henry Ayodeji, matric number 180503055 from the Department of Political Science.
My name is Olabimura Oladebora, matric number 180503160 from the Department of Political Science. Thank you.
My name is James Crown Adeyemi, with matric number 180503015 from the Department of Political Science. Thank you.
My name is Farid Sunday Olabode from the Department of Political Science Education, matric number 180219128. Thank you.
My name is Ajon Bonotobilobakis, Department of Public Administration, matric number 180604007.
My name is Omolenwa Sunday, matric number 190604030, public admin.
My name is Babangida Daniel from the Department of Political Science, matric number 180503068.
My name is David from the Department of Political Science Education, matric number 180201977.
My name is Adekunle from the Department of Public Administration with matriculation number 180-64118.
My name is Babangida from the Department of Political Science, matric number 180-50-3065.
My name is Abubakar from the Department of Public Administration, matric number 180-6047.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are here to talk on the evaluation of Nigeria global economic relations. So I'll be talking on the introduction, which is chapter 1 of this topic. The background of the study of the evaluation of Nigeria global economic relations provides a context and set stage for understanding the significance and relevance of these studies. It highlights the key aspects of the Nigeria's economic landscape and the importance of its engagement with the global communities. However, Nigeria, located in the West Africa, is the most populous African country. It is the most populous country in Africa, and it has diverse economic rich resources. Then it is the largest. Nigeria is the largest oil producing countries in the whole African continent, which has a significant reserves for natural gas, solid minerals, and agricultural resources. Historically, economy has heavily been dependent on the oil exports, which account for a substantial portion of government revenue and foreign exchange. Nigeria engagement plays a crucial role in its effort to achieve a sustainable economic growth, then create job opportunities and alleviate poverty. Understanding the dynamics of Nigeria's global economic relations is very essential for policymakers, for researchers, for stakeholders, and even investors, then development practitioners. By conducting an in-depth evaluation of Nigeria's global economy, policymakers can gain insights into the effectiveness of current policies and to identify the areas that require improvement. So before I go, I would like to quickly brush into the statements of the problems. One of the problems facing the Nigeria global economic relations. One of the key challenges facing the Nigeria global economic relation is the heavy dependence on oil exports. That is, Nigeria focus mainly on the income being generated from the oil export, as based on the fact that we are one of the top producing oil companies or countries in the whole Africa. Nigeria focuses more instead of also looking into another aspect of resource whereby we can achieve a lot of things. Then also another significant challenges is the inadequate infrastructure and logistical capability. There are not enough resources. There are not enough infrastructures that we can work on. Then another challenges, last challenge that we're talking about is the security concerns. The security concern in Nigeria, particularly in some region of Nigeria, poses challenges to the global economic relations. And the solution, I think, if only policy makers and stakeholders can tackle these challenges, Nigeria can leverage its global economic relations and attract investment and foster sustainable economic growth and development. So this is where I'll be dropping this chapter, where I will be handing over to my colleague as he takes guys through the other chapter. Thank you.
Alright, so I'll be speaking on chapter 2 of our topic, which says evaluation of Nigeria's global economic relations. Now, the introduction: Nigeria is one of the major countries that produces oil and exports oil. Now, this has influenced our relationship with other countries of the world, such as USA, China, and India. USA, China, and India are the key importers of Nigeria's oil production. Now, we are also to know that Nigeria does not only produce and export oil, but also produce and export agricultural products such as cocoa, rubber, and palm oil, and also solid minerals such as tin and limestone. Now, I'll be going to the literature review. What is global economic relations? Global economic relations can be defined as the interconnected economic transactions between countries in the global system. Now, an example of this is the relationship between Nigeria and China. Nigeria and China, they are known to be the countries that are ruling the economic aspects of their relationship is known to be the one ruling the economic aspects of the world. As of 2019, Nigeria and the relationship between Nigeria and China brought about $19 billion, and also Nigeria is the base of China among other African countries. Nigeria seems to be the base of China in our economic aspect. Now I'll be moving to the theoretical framework. The theories used for this study is dependency theory and world system. Now the type of world system we have is the world capitalist system, and this system seems to have widened the gap between the powerful countries of the world, that is the rich countries of the world, and the poor countries of the world. An example is the relationship between US and Nigeria. Also, the dependency theory. This theory was expanded by Titonio dos Santos, and this theory explains and analyzes how that powerful countries, that is rich countries, they try to dominate, strangulate, and also stifle the economy of the lower countries militarily, economically, and politically. Thank you.
I'll be talking about the historical overview of Nigeria global economic system. And okay, this has to do about the colonialism. And what is colonialism? Colonialism can be divided as a process whereby a powerful country took over about the global and the economic system of another country. Okay, in this process, we talk about the crude oil, about the mineral resources. We have gold, we have crude oil, we have cocoa. So during this time, all these countries, they took all our economic system. So they have the power over our cocoa, our oil, and stuff like that. So, and this one too, we have to talk about the Boko Haram. All these people, they weaken the economy of the country, because first one, they destroy major bank in the country. All these local markets were shut down. They are able to go to their workplaces. All these banks, they were shut down during this period of time. So I hand over to you.
I'll be taking over chapter 4, talking about the dynamics of Nigeria. After independence, Nigeria sought to diversify its economy and reduce dependence in agriculture. So after the discovery in Niger Delta in the late 1950s and the subsequent oil boom in the late 1970s, significantly transformed Nigeria's economy and relation. So oil became a dominant sector. The oil boom led to increased foreign direct investment, which is the FDI, and substantial revenue inflows. So Nigeria became a significant oil exporter. However, Nigeria has been an active member of various international organizations such as the African Union, the United Nations, the ECOWAS, the OPEC, and so on. And there are some key aspects of Nigerian economic relations. We have the trade partnership, we have the foreign direct investments, the South-South cooperations, the economic bilateral relations, and so on. Then we have some challenges. Facing economic relations. We have oil dependency. We have infrastructural deficits. We have unemployment among youth. We have COVID-19 pandemic. Then we have security concerns, inadequate basic services, and so on. Then I would like to provide a solution to the economic relations of Nigeria. I would like to advise the youth. They should make more, like, I would like to make the youth should focus more on the entrepreneurship in and out of school, and in general, everyone should love his or her country. And I would like my colleague to take over to chapter 5.
Finally, over the years, Nigeria focused majorly on oil, and that's why Nigeria global economic relations have been shaped by various factors, including its status as a major oil producer. Its effort to diversify the economic and the challenges it faces. In response to this, Nigeria has sought to diversify its economy by promoting other sectors such as agriculture, manufacturing, services, and technology. Nigeria global economic relation has undergone significant change and faced various challenges over the years. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of the presentation. Once again, this is Group 16, and our topic was on the evaluation of Nigeria global economic relations. Help yourself. Thank you.
At the top of the sent with project number 180 2070 from Political Science Education.
My name is Adekunle, matric number 180503078 from the Department of Political Science.
My name is Aina Sekina, matric number 180 209121 from the Department of Political Science Education.
My name is Emmanuel Olapule, matric number 180503146 from the Department of Political Science.
My name is Murtala Mohammed, matric number 1806038 from the Department of Public Administration.
My name is Adi
Osolias Lade, matric number 180209140 from Political Science Education.
My name is from Department of Political Science Education, matric number 180209055.
Alabid Omolara, matric number 180503061 from Department of Political Science.
My name is Ayla Minan.
Matric number 180209066 from Department of Political Science Education.
My name is
Esomiri Olaoluwa, matric number 180503082 from the Department of Political Science.
Godwin David Daniel from the Department of Political Science Education, 180209084.
My name is Omotayo Adenike, matric number 180209080 from the Department of Political Science Education.
My name is Alaritanye Victor Adedayo, matric number 180503058 from the Department of Political Science.
My name is Omoyeni Yuteni with matric number 180503042 from the Department of Political Science.
My name is Michael Olani,
matric 180604049 from Public Administration.
Good day, everyone. Our topic for today is the assessment of Nigeria's effort in decolonizing Africa. Nigeria gained independence from Britain colonization in the year 1960, and since then has been channeling its foreign policy into decolonizing other African states from this colonization of state powers like France and Britain and other European countries like that. Nigeria has been channeling its forces, its power, to saving other countries from war, from starving, from famine, from colonization. And Nigeria has been a very, very helpful country due to the fact that it is one of the greatest countries in Africa, and it is one of the greatest countries because of the manpower, the geographical territory, the leadership, and all that things like that. And Nigeria has been channeling all of its efforts into saving other nations from colonization. Now, the focus of this study is to check how Nigeria has helped other countries in decolonizing them from the colonization of Britain and state powers like that. And the reason for this study is to also see the reason why Nigeria has been able to help other countries while Nigeria itself is in abject poverty and still at the very underdeveloped state, even though Nigeria is very, very rich in resources and manpower and geographical territory. still is able to render help to other countries and still not able to help itself. And this study is meant to answer questions like, what has Nigeria done to help other countries? Why is Nigeria seen as one of the greatest countries in Africa? Why is Nigeria seen as the giant of Africa? Why is Nigeria still suffering from poverty, from corruption, from bad leadership, from bad things that are happening to it? Meanwhile, in the international world, Nigeria is seen as a big country, as a very great country, but in its own local area, it is seen as a very, very underdeveloped country. And my other colleagues will be doing much work on that, on explaining the focus of this study.
Chapter 2. Conceptual clarification. Colonialism. The term colonialism is historical. Colonialism is the imposition and conquest of foreign rule, but in a certain geographical area. It gained its importance in the 19th century. According to Brett, 1973, it defines colonialism as the system of rule that has used the power to impose their will upon another rule. In a nutshell, this work sees colonialism as the measure of a country and its political, economic, and social destiny, with the use of instrumentality of military of a foreign country. Decolonization. Decolonization is the reverse of colonization. Fanon defines decolonization as the attempt to change the order of the world, agenda for disorder, a historical process, and the need to challenge colonial situations. Pan-Africanism. Pan-Africanism is the ideology and movement that sought to encourage the solidarity of black people over. Its origin can be traced to 1893. Pan-Africanism is a center force initiated by the African and the African people family to fight against slavery, racism, and colonialism. Foreign policy. Foreign policy are the set goals a state is intending to pursue in the course of interaction with other states or international systems. To sum it up, foreign policy is the reflection of a state's interests, which are of economic, military, and social importance to its wellness.
Chapter 3. I will be talking about an overview of Nigeria's effort at decolonizing Africa as a continent. As a matter of fact, Nigerian foreign policy gained a kind of global recognition when Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa gave a kind of inaugural address to the General Assembly of the United Nations Organization on October 7, 1960. As a matter of fact, that is the year that Nigeria as a state was admitted into United Nations Organization as an independent state. And on that occasion, Sir Tafawa Balewa made it known to us that the Nigerian foreign policy was structured in such a way that Nigeria as a state will remain in a kind of friendly terms with other nations of the world, and Nigeria as a state will work efficiently and effectively to make sure that unity is being promoted in the United Nations Organization. Tafawa Balewa also made it known to us that Nigeria as a state will not align with the two power blocks that we have during that time, which is the West and the East, and that is what we simply refer to as the policy of non-alignment. As a matter of fact, Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa also made it known to us that Nigeria will do everything humanly possible to liberate all the African states from the bondage of colonialism. That is, we make a kind of effort to make sure that all African states got kind of independent. As a matter of fact, Nigeria during that time, according to Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa made it known to us that Nigeria will do everything to make sure that the principle upon which United Nations Organization was founded, Nigeria will uphold it. Majorly, the foreign policy of Nigeria is not limited to this, but due to our limited time, I will stop here while one of our colleagues will come to continue from here.
I'll be talking on Nigeria's efforts on the colonization of Africa. The number one effort is Technical Aid Corps. Nigeria created Technical Aid Corps program in 1987 to provide intellectual capital and foster South-to-South operation in African Caribbean countries. Nigeria provided needed specific personnel such as doctors, lawyers, engineers to many African, Caribbean, and Pacific countries. It is recorded that over 8,000 Nigerian volunteers have been dispatched to more than 32 countries in Africa. The next one is peace support operations. Nigeria engaged in many peace support cooperation, many platforms, including UN, AU, African Union, and ECOWAS. Nigeria has been active. In November 1960, Nigeria provided UN peacekeeper to Congo and spent £15 million to the operation. The next one is decolonization. Nigeria demonstrated enormous commitment to fight against colonization and racial discrimination, which many Africans were subjected to. Nigeria provided the voice, rallying point, and leadership to go against the colonization and racial discrimination in Africa. It is recorded in South African Institute and International Affairs that Nigeria provided more than $61 billion to prosecute the obnoxious system in the system more than other countries.
Number 5. Nigeria has played a leading role in ensuring that colonialism becomes a thing of the past in Africa. Part of its role that it plays includes, number 1, after independence, enjoying the international organizations such as United Nations, League of Nations, and Commonwealth, among others. And also, it makes Africa as a centerpiece of Nigerian foreign policy, in such that it provides military aids, financial aids, and material aids for the poor African countries. Also, it played a leading role in ensuring that racism and apartheid was being abated in South Africa. And also, it plays a leading role by ensuring that UN and ECOWAS was put in place in order to ensure unionism in Africa. And lastly, it ensured that Commonwealth was put in place in order to ensure cooperation and promote economic independence among African states. And also, it also provides Pan-Africanism in order to ensure unity among African countries. And also, it averts encirclement of foreign influence.
Of ADEKUNLE AJASIN University of Abubakar, and I'm the group leader of Group 15. And I'm here to present on Nigerian foreign relation with Russia, course code POS409, course title Nigerian foreign policy. My name is AJASIN Victoria from the Department of Political Science, and my matric number is 18050-3190.
Department of Political Science, matric number 185-73164.
Oluwasola Temdire, matriculation number 18050-3077.
Akin Son Samson, Department of Political Science, matric number 185-03026.
Matriculation 18050-3072 from Department of Political Science.
Ayoyo Kehinde, matric number 18050-3152, Department of Political Science. Thank you.
Adetola Adenikerechi from the Department of Political Science Education, matric number 180-2090-56. Thank you.
My name is Agnes Deborah from Post Science Education, matric number 180-2090-19.
My name is Oshofunkemi Emmanuel from the Department of Political Science Education, matric number 180-2090-24.
My name is Odobe Mujisa Jogo, matric number 180-209-112 from the Department of Political Science Education.
My name is Ojola Pelunosan, matric number 180-0209-107.
My name is Gowon from the Department of Political Science Education, matric number 180-2090-58.
My name is Joshua Betogidi, Department of Political Science Education, matric number 180-2090-5.
My name is David Jayadebola, Department of Public Administration, matric number 180-60-40-45.
Oladejo Ebonua Blessing, Department of Public Administration, matric number 180-60-40-03.
My name is Adeyemi Ajibola Oluwawemo, 180-60-40-18 from the Department of Public Administration.
Okay, I'll be taking the chapter 1, which is the introductory part to Nigeria foreign policy with Russia. Before and after the 1884 to 1885 Berlin Conference, the European power was not after only relevance but also gaining power and product over the African economic and political aspects to get a gain from them. Also, the Imperial Russia was at the meeting, but they were not interested in the Berlin Conference meeting. They were interested in helping Africa to gain their independence to create their policy, which was equality and peaceful coexistence within all the people of the world. The Imperial Russia was not actually after what the conference meeting was, what it ended to, but better still, they were after the policy of their leader, in the person of Lenin, 1963, which is the equality of everyone and the coexistence of everyone in the world, not minding the race or the population of which the person belongs to. For the in process also, the African community came together and sat together and reasoned what to do, which made them to thought of the how to come together to make the peaceful coexistence with them, which leads to the Moses preaching of Egyptian pharaohs going back to letting the people go. Okay, to protest our point about foreign policy with Russia, Nigerian people came together and thought of what to do in building an egalitarian society, which should make what to build the economic product, to build the political product. On this, I will actually step aside for my people to come over.
I'll be taking the literature review. An overview of Nigerian foreign policy since independence to date has gained the attention of many Nigerian scholars, diplomats, and top government functionaries. The policy, as accepted and observed by Ignatius, has put together that Africa is the centerpiece of Nigerian foreign policy. The architects of Nigerian foreign policy, starting from Wakashuku, the first external affairs minister, then Nnamdi Azikiwe, the first Nigerian president, and Tafawa Balewa, the first prime minister. They were the architects that founded the Nigerian foreign policy. Now we have principles of Nigerian foreign policy. We have non-alignment, that is, the Nigerian does not, that it rejects former existence, former interaction between two countries or military power and the likes. Then another one is legal state inequality. The principle give respect for legal state inequality, that is, no state is superior or inferior to the other. The other one is cultural and religion diversity. Nigerian, as a heterogeneous society, has different countries, different culture, different religion. Another one, Africa as the cornerstone, or let me say centerpiece of Nigerian foreign policy. Then there's something we call multilateralism, that is, gives freedom to join continental or multilateral global organization. Then we also have determinants of Nigerian foreign policy. The determinants can be classified into two. We have the external and we have the internal. The internal also known as domestic. From the internal, we have geographical territory, that is the location. Then we have demographic, which is the population, and the rest. Then we have external factors.
I'm here to talk about the historical overview of the relations between Nigeria and Russia, which is the chapter 3 of this project. So Nigeria and Russia have had a varied history of relations dating back to the Soviet Union. So here are these instances, several instances in which Nigeria and Russia relate. The first one was in the Cold War during 1960 to 1991. During the Cold War, Nigeria sought to diversify its international relations beyond its colonial ties with the West. So in the 1960s to 1970s, Nigeria and the Soviet Union established diplomatic relations and signed several agreements in areas such as trade, education, and culture. The Soviet Union provided Nigeria with economic and military assistance to Nigeria, including arms sales, infrastructure projects, and technical cooperation. So another instance was in the post-Cold War of 1991 to 2000. So following the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, bilateral relationship between Nigeria and Russia experienced a decline due to the political and economic challenges in place in both countries. So Nigeria shifted its focus in becoming a member of the Western Union, which is the United States and European Union. So another instance was the reinvigoration of relations in 2000 to 2010. So in these early 20s, there was a renewed effort to investigate Nigeria and Russia together. So that at that time, the President Obasanjo visited Russia, and which resulted in signing of diplomatic relations and agreements in many areas of academic, which is defense education. So another instance was the economic cooperation and arms in 2010 to 2014. So during this period, Nigeria and Russia experienced opportunities to economic cooperation. So Russia compared interest in Nigeria, and there was a discussion on expanding bilateral trade. So additional, during that time, Nigeria purchased military equipment in Russia, such as the helicopter and aeroplane. So finally, the recent developments, which is the 2014. So in the recent years, Nigeria and Russia relations have witnessed further growth in various areas. The country have engaged in high level of visits, in which the president of Russia visits Nigeria, and also the president of Nigeria visits Russia. So this activate the signing of agreements. Apparently, the Nigerian-Russia relations received renewed vigor between year 1991 and the year 2017. Now, this is evidence in the varied relationship that has been entered into by these two countries. Now, however, the extent to which these agreements have resulted into visible benefits to the Nigerian state is the focal point of this work. Right. So, on the 25th of June 2010, Russia's President Dmitry Medvedev met with Nigeria's Maru Musa Yar'Adua, which was the former president of Nigeria. Now, this was the first of its kind, and this meeting produced 6 bilateral agreements. Now, according to the BBC News of 2010, this includes investment and promotion of protection and agreements, also cooperation in the field of nuclear energy for peaceful purposes, and what have you. Now, lastly, Abimbola 2016 points out the fact that Goodluck Jonathan's administration in Nigeria pitched a tent with Russian government to help Nigeria fight against terrorism. And so, nonetheless, it is pertinent to point out the fact that despite this relationship with Russia, there are certain issues conducting the Nigerian society, the Nigerian state, to be precise. Right now, we have the issue of the legislative arm of government, which has not been totally into this relationship. That's basically because of the fact that the British government and even Europe as a whole has impact or influence on these people. Thank you.
Chapter 5. Bringing this topic into a holistic conclusion, we have to critically examine Chapter 5. That's the summary, conclusion, and recommendation. This sub-study based on 4 research and 4 objectives. Nigeria-Russia relation focuses more on cultural heritage, technological development, economic development, and otherwise development that relates to the society. However, bringing everything, the study examined the Nigeria relation and reviewed the related literature. While we study, it is divided into 5 segments, which is Chapter 1 based on the entire introduction and background of the study, and the other aspects of the study. While Chapter 2 focuses on the relationship, the review of related literature, and the conceptual clarification of the study. While we have Chapter 5, Chapter 3 that said about the historical development of the study, and Chapter 4 examining the relationship between South Africa, Nigeria, and South African foreign policy. While Chapter 5 talked more about the relationship between Russia and why in conclusion we have the relationship between Nigeria and Russia. One, they have common goals together, which they have to achieve. Also, Nigeria and Russia have mineral resources, which will foster their economic development. And also, Nigeria and Russia has become a regional leader in their respective region. Why, in bringing everything, the recommendation we have in this study, we have the Nigerian should not hesitate in going into any relation, any opportunity that comes from Russia. Nigerian government and Russian government should establish diplomatic reconciliation machinery in place so that they can reconcile any dispute among their citizens. Thank you so much.
Good day, my name is Olushola Prince Damilola, matric number 180-2090-02. This is a group presentation from Group 21 on POS409, Nigerian Foreign Policy, and we'll be speaking on the evaluation of Nigeria's foreign policy under President Olusegun Obasanjo administration. I will step back now to allow my colleagues to introduce themselves.
Good day everyone, my name is Babangida from Department of Political Science with matric number 180503173.
Good day everyone, my name is FORIEGN from the Department of Political Science Education with the matric number 180-29138.
Good day everyone, my name is Agbola Imelakani from the Department of Political Science with the matric number 180503168.
Good day everyone, my name is Moses Oluwakemitula from the Department of Public Administration with matric number 180-604034.
My name is Aridore Richard from the Department of Political Science Education with the matric number of 180209003.
Good day everyone, my name is Titiola Fuge from the Department of Political Science Education with the matric number 18020909.
Good day everyone, my name is Abubakar from the Department of Political Science Education, matric number 1080946.
Good day everyone, my name is Wasu Seyatomoro from the Department of Political Science with matric number 180503106.
Good day, everyone. My name is Babangida from the Department of Political Science Education with matric number 180-209-103.
Hey everyone, my name is Mr. Murtala Mohammed from the Department of Political Science Education with the matric number 180-20-1999.
Hey everyone, my name is ADEKUNLE from the Department of Political Science Education, matriculation number 180-20-9167.
Good day everyone, my name is Abubakar from the Department of Public Administration with matric number 180-60-40-37.
My name is Obacha from the Department of Political Science with matriculation number 180-50-1.
Good day everyone, my name is from the Department of Political Science Education with matric number 180-20-90-28.
Good day, everyone. My name is Obasanjo from the Department of Political Science Education, matric number 180-209-031.
Good day everyone, my name is from the Department of Political Science with matriculation number 180-50-30-73.
From the Department of Political Science Education with matric number 180-209-064.
Is Oladile from the Department of Public Administration, matric number 180-60-40-69. Is Olorunfemi Secretary from the Department of Political Science with matric number 190-50-30-80.
Hey everybody, my name is Richard Ayobami. Now I'll be talking about the introduction. Now the history of Nigerian diplomatic practice has been in the making shortly before the independence of the country. To a large extent, this was more of manifestation of the British system of handing over the power to the colonies, to the former colonies. Now, this was more of a systematic process to attain training of personnel in all parts of the civilian service. Now, the developing service was paramount in this approach. As a nucleus democratic practice, a foreign service division was created in the Nigerian Prime Office in 1957 to deal with the matters concerning Commonwealth and foreign relations. Officers selected to serve in the division becomes the first group of Nigerian foreign service officers. They were at first attached to emphasis of the British and consular posts to function as the secretariat vice consuls and so on. On the 1st October 1960, Nigeria won independence and subsequently established a separate ministry known as Ministry of Foreign Policy and Commonwealth Relations to deal with external affairs of the government. Foreign policy could also be divided as interplay between a nation and a counterpart in the world, in which areas that includes the economy, the politics, sports, regime and tourism, social culture, consulates and immigration.
My name is Abubakar, and I'll be talking on the conceptual clarification and the literature review of this topic. So going by the literature, so we come to know that foreign policy has no universal definition. So according to Frankel 1979, foreign policy is seen as the interaction between the domestic demands and support and the changing external influences. According to Miller 1967, foreign policy is seen as the mechanism by which nation states tend to pursue and prevent the independence and the security of the national interest. And then we have factors that influences Nigerian foreign policies. We have the internal and the external factors. And then we have the determinants that influences and affects Nigerian foreign policies. We have the demographic factors. We have the demographic indicator. We have population. We have the power struggle. We have the military capability, that is the military strength in assisting other nation states.
My name
name is Olorunfemi Abosede. I'll be starting from where my colleagues stopped. I'll be talking about the historical overview of Nigeria foreign policy. Agui Ironsi regime in January 1866 to July 1961. The regime assured the global community about Nigeria's commitment to all prevailing agreements and obligations. The regime could not formulate well divine diplomatic approach because the nation was terrified with political instability. Talking about Balewa administration diplomatic practice, Balewa open address adopted a policy of non-alignment. The nation diplomatic practice was guided by a certain principle, which are safeguarding the newly won independence. 2. Membership of the Commonwealth and unified nation. 3. African-oriented interest and continental unity. 4. Total decolonization of Africans from colonial rule. Talking about Shehu Shagari regime from 1979 to 1983, the Shagari regime, like previous regimes, focused on Nigeria African-oriented foreign policy as entrenched in the 1979 Constitution. The position was made clear when President Shehu Shagari in his speech declared that Nigeria could continue to make Africans the certain piece of our foreign policy. I will stop here while my colleagues take over from where I've stopped.
Continuing from where my colleagues stopped, I'll be talking about the impact of Obasanjo foreign policy from 1999 to 2007, securing debt policy of Nigeria, restoring Nigeria into Committee of Nations, preservation of democracy in Africa. I would like to continue from the problems that militate against the successful implementation of Nigeria foreign policy. Number 1, the security threat. Number 2, instability economy. Number 3, insufficient food security. I'll continue from the achievement of Obasanjo foreign policy. The administration equally achieved debt relief. Obasanjo's civilian administration failed to revive the country's dynamic infrastructure and electricity sector, and the country's oil refineries were producing less when he left in 2007 than when he was first elected in 1999.
My name is I'm talking on this conclusion. This is in chapter 5. The study examining the foreign policy under the President Olusegun Obasanjo in 1999 to 2007. The study is divided into 5 chapters. Chapter 1 is talking about the introduction, which includes the statement of policy. Problem is the members of the study. Chapter 2 is talking about the social review, while the chapter 3 is talking about the historical review of the study. Chapter 4 is complete focus on Nigeria foreign policy under Olusegun Obasanjo regime from 1999 to 2007. That is focus of the research work by diving into the interests of the Nigeria foreign policy as seen by Obasanjo. Obasanjo policy is the pursuit of Nigeria interests and showing the Nigeria foreign policy under him. Chapter 5 contains the summary of the work as its conclusion and recommendation.
Izakim Bomolola Mary, Faculty of Social Science, Department of Political Science major, 100 level.
My name is Babangida Murtala Mohammed, Faculty of Social Science, Department of Political Science major, 100 level.
My name is Olado Iberude from the Faculty of Edu, Department of Political Science, 100 level.
My name is Aindinola Kwadola from the Faculty of Education, Political Science, Edu, 100 level.
My name is Hussein Oluwashin from the Department of Political Science Education, Faculty of Education, 100 level.
My name is Adekunle from the Faculty of Education, Political Science Education, 100 level.
My name is Adekunle from the Faculty of Education, Political Science Education, 100 level.
My name is Babangida from the Faculty of Social Science, Department of Political Science, 100 level.
My name is Babangida from the Department of Political Science, the Faculty of Social Sciences. I am representing Group 28 to the topic Politics and Authoritarian Scarce Value by David Easton. So firstly, I would like to define all this and give it a detailed illustration. According to David Easton, he defined it as the allocation of scarce value in such a way that politics involve and making and determine how benefits, resources and responsibilities are being distributed among the people in the society. And resources allocation, this is the process whereby the government will make a way that the resources are allocated in the right way, resources are allocated in the proper way for the benefit of the people. And in the meaning of scarce value, what is the meaning of scarce value? Scarce value simply means what the society deemed fit, that what the society deemed fit to add, that okay, this is the particular thing I need to benefit from this particular thing. So the government is going to make a way on how they are going to split these values and to make it very viable for the community to benefit from it. So scarce value refers to the goods, services, benefits that the society deemed fit to value from it. Let's make an illustration. Let's consider a grappling society of a country with a disturbance of healthcare services. So they lack healthcare services in a society. So the government will be the one to provide the resource allocation and also know how they are going to distribute the allocation to the society. So they have the access and the equality to it. So let's an example of an hospital. So the government will be the one in providing the hospital beds, everything needed in the hospital, so as for the society to benefit from it. And stakeholders, the government will be in charge of stakeholders in such a way that they will make sure that these things are, that these resources are being allocated properly, that the society will have access and the equality to it. There will not be partiality in this, which means society A will benefit from it, society B will also benefit from it. So there won't be any form of, and that won't cause any form of disputes in the society, because I'm benefiting from it, the society is also benefiting from it. So in this illustration, politics plays a crucial role for it to determine how resources are allocated and how everybody is benefiting from it. So that scarce value, it means that the society must benefit from it. They deem fit for it that okay, we should benefit from this particular thing. It is our right. So I think with this point of mine, I'm able to define politics as an authority as value by David Easton. Thank you.
Good day, my name is Ajiboli from Political Science Education, matric number 180-209-164, and I'm the group leader for Group 3. I am my group members representing on the topic Sudan War and its implication for Nigeria. Thank you.
My name is Sonny from the Department of Political Science, matric number 180.
My name is Adele from the Department of Political Science Education with the matric number 180-209-144. Thank you.
Good day, my name is Adele from the Department of Political Science, matric number 196.85.
Good day, my name is Adebaya Adeyemi, matric number 183-9053 from Political Science Education.
Good day, my name is Adaya from the Department of Political Science Education, matric number 180-209-154. Good day, my name is Diana Adion from the Department of Political Science Education, matric number 180-209-072.
My name is Babangida from the Department of Political Science, matric number 180-503-134.
Good day, my name is Karina Demonstration from the Department of Political Science Education, matric number 180-209-134. Good day, my name is Olaiwari Stella from the Department of Political Science Education, matric number 180-2091-73.
My name is Sonny from matric number 180-50-3017 from the Department of Political Science.
Good day everyone, my name is Taj Junior Lebola Kapara from the Department of Political Science Education, matric number 180-2096.
Good day everyone, my name is Sarah Lala from the Department of Political Science Education, matric number 180-2096.
Good day, everyone. My name is Olulagba Samuel Pamiloni from the Department of Political Science, and my troop number is 10903148. Good day, everyone. My name is Abubakar from the Department of Political Science, with my troop number 1901589.
Reoccurrence and re-escalation of conflict in various parts of the world, most especially in the developing states, has indeed made the world sustainable, peace and illusion. A lot can be said on the havoc wreaked by this conflict on the people and the devastating effects on the natural environment. Regrettably, all efforts made to put an end to wars, conflicts and crises around the globe yield little or no significant results, since conflicts reoccur and the proclivity of conflict remain undefeatable. Adekunle, 2005. On 15th of April 2023, fighting broke out between the Sudanese Armed Forces (SAF) and the Paramilitary Rapid Support Forces (RSF) in the capital Khartoum, in the nearby town of Merowe City in northern states. The conflict subsequently spread to cities in other states. Statement of the problem: although Nigeria played the role of a big brother despite its sustained assistance, it has not been accorded to appropriate recognition for its leadership role in the continent. Instead, Nigeria has been the butt of derision by several African states. The poor perception of Nigeria in international community is attributed to ineptitude in political leadership and economic comatose into which the country has been steeped for several years. Now to the research questions. 1. What are the role by Sudan's generals and implication for Nigeria? 2. What are the impact of Sudan crisis on foreign students? Now moving to the objective. 1. To examine the role by Sudan's generals and implication for Nigeria. 2. To assess the impact of Sudan crisis on foreign students. Thank you.
I'll take in chapter 2, which says current political and humanitarian situation. Fighting between the main two military factors reached a new level of violence in the capital on 15 April 2023. Khartoum emerged as the epicenter of the uprising, as those some key locations, including the National Intelligence Service, the international airport and institutional buildings. The fighting quickly spread around the country, becoming a serious threat to regional stability. Some analysts have also reported a sharp increase in intertribal violence in the country's west and south, owing to the current political and economic instability. Furthermore, they warn about the repercussion of refugee displacements to neighboring countries such as Egypt, Chad, Ethiopia, or the Central African Republic. On 27 April 2023, the two sides agreed to extend a 72-hour Saudi-US-mediated humanitarian ceasefire, which began on 24th of April for another 72 hours. From the regional and international repercussion, Sudan power struggle will have severe repercussions on the country's attempts to transition to democracy, as well as on stability at regional level. Previously, the AU, the EU, and the US have strongly supported the implementation of democratic reforms and provided considerable funding. However, this has failed to help achieve the negotiated targets, which included establishing a transitional civilian government, transitional justice, and security and military reform. Both sides have been trying to strengthen alliance inside and outside the country. Moving to the negative impact of the crisis: political instability, food availability, food access.
Chapter 3, I will be talking on the historical overview of Sudan's war. The conflict in Sudan is one of the problematic and longest running civil war in the world today. Since 1983, Sudan has been stained by blood of 2.5 million dead and 7 million displaced. Time magazine 2007 section 8. Historically, the conflict evolved from a regional man by post-colonial characteristics to a new kind of war in which the control of natural resources plays a significant role. In January 2005, the UN Secretary General's Commission on Inquiry of Darfur issued a well-documented report that indicated there were some 1.6 million internally displaced persons as a result of the ongoing violence and more than 200,000 refugees from Darfur in neighboring Chad. The report asserted that government of Sudan forces and allied military had committed widespread war crimes against humanity.
I'll be talking about the chapter 4, which is the role of Sudan's general linkage and implication for Nigeria. Okoji 2023 opines that with the strike in Babangida down for another city of Sudan, resuming just hours after the ceasefire, one would only wonder what next to expect in the conflict for the country. The current conflict in Sudan which started on April 15, in the result of the integrity rival between the two general Sudan presidents. Sudan crisis, impact on foreign students, Nigerian students. Since 1983, Sudan has seen violent instability, including the Second Sudan Civil War, which lasted for around 20 years. Implications of Sudan conflict. This fighting in Sudan between the army under the commander of General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan and the military rapid support forces under General Mohammed is causing huge problem for the country and its neighbors. Thank you.
The study examined the Sudan crisis and its implication for Nigeria. The study adopts this historical approach with the four research and objectives, while the several literature were reviewed. The objectives study were to examine the Sudan general and implication for Nigeria, process and problems and prosperity of the peace in Sudan. Furthermore, the study is divided into 5 chapters. For detailed understanding, the first chapter consists the entire introduction, including the background of the study, statement of the problem, research question and objective, methodology and the significance of the study, as well as the scope of the study. Chapter 2 covers the literature review. Chapter 3 details on research overview of the study. Chapter 4 examines the implication of Sudan crisis on Nigeria, while Chapter 5 consists the summary, conclusion and recommendation. Conclusion. The piece examines the crisis in Sudan. Emphasis, however, is on the contribution of Nigeria towards the enhancement of sustainable peace in the region. Simply put, more than any other state on the continent, Nigeria stays committed to the peace process through thick and thin in Sudan. Although the crisis in Sudan continues to all efforts aimed at achieving a lasting peace. Recommendation. On the basis of the above findings, the study makes the following recommendation. International organizations should, as a matter of urgency, come to the aid of Sudan in order for the crisis not to go beyond control. Nigeria, being the giant of Africa, at least render more assistance in solving the crisis. Nigeria government should, as a matter of urgency, put in place conducive learning environment across the educational sector in order to reduce the number of Nigerians that go ahead to study as well same Sudan. Reference: ADEKUNLE 2005, Problem and Peacemaking and Peacekeeping in Cost and Human Rights Watch 2006, Imperative for immediate change to the African Union mission in Sudan, and so on. Thank you.
Good day everyone, my name is Ola Julius from the Department of Political Science, matriculation number 180503024. I and my colleagues are here to present to you on the topic which says Critical Overview of Nigerian Foreign Policy under President Buhari from 2015 to 2023. I'll step aside for my colleagues to introduce themselves.
My name is Adewale Adebimpe-Temitayo, matric number 180503005, from Department of Political Science.
My name is Oyeri Jeffrey Osajede from the Department of Public Administration, matric number 180604097.
My name is Ome Christiana Chisom, 180604002, Public Administration Department.
My name is Ogbaruaino Margaret, Political Science Education, matric number 180209158.
My name is Taiwo Luwanifemi, matric number 180209026, from the Department of Political Science Education.
My name is Ayoto Gamala Luwatomisi, Department of Political Science, matric number 1805314.
My name is Owe Grace Ebikemi, Public Administration, matric number 1806011.
My name is Taboro Doluwadu from the Department of Political Science, matric number 1805304.
My name is Akinola Vanessa, from Political Science Department, 180503003.
My name is Apata Disla Faith, from the Department of Political Science Education, 180209149.
My name is Ebon Faith, from the Department of Political Science Education, matric number 180209005.
My name is Falada Emideko from the Department of Public Administration with the matric number 180604046.
My name is Oluwani Oluwadabira from the Department of Political Science, matric number 1805030.
My name is Oyewole Onitamola Adenike, matric number 180604095, from the Department of Public Administration.
My name is Maraki Odelewalashe from the Department of Public Administration, matric number 180604100.
My name is Ogunbade Precious Oluwaduse from the Department of Public Administration, matric number 180601490.
My name is Oridupa Oluwatimileyin from the Department of Political Science, matric number 180503113.
So I'm going straight into the presentation now. This is chapter 1, Introduction. The Nigerian foreign policy evolution started after the colonial era. Why did I say this? Most of our historical researchers, those that research around Africa, showed that most of this foreign policy came up and was formulated after the colonial era. Statement of problem. The goal of every foreign policy is to establish a cordial relationship between two nations. What am I talking about? I'm talking about creating a good image and a good perspective for your nation. This is why we came about foreign policy. Research questions. Number 1, what are the structures of Nigerian foreign policy under the regime of President Muhammadu Buhari, 2015 to 2023? Number 2, what is the pattern of foreign trade under the regime of President Muhammadu Buhari, 2015 to 2023? Number 3, what is the impact of Nigerian foreign economic relations under the President Muhammadu Buhari's regime, 2015 to 2023? That being said, I'll leave the podium for my colleagues to take chapter 2. Thank you.
The chapter 2, which is the initial review, the nature or the conceptual nature of the foreign policy and the theoretical framework. As we all know, foreign policy is a necessary instrument of a state in their relationship, exchange, and dealings with each other in the international arena. Foreign policy can be seen as a set of intended actions adopted by one nation with regards to diplomatic relationships activities with other countries. Foreign policy is a defined other way for dealing with issues that may arise with other countries in the politics and international mainstream. It is often said that a nation without foreign policy is like sheep without a shepherd. On the whole, foreign policy is the interest, desire, which guide the behaviors of a state in the international politics and the conduct of international relations. Since no state can avoid without others, states must frame their interactions systematically to aid the advancement of national interests in the relations with other modern states. Therefore, foreign policy is an integral part of the activities of the modern state. Now a review of the foreign policy as in Nigeria. Nigeria's first Prime Minister, Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, set the stage for Nigeria's foreign policy in 1960 when he identified the major components as summarized by Enikan Olaye, 2013, page 19. Now the theoretical framework of the studies. These research adopted the structural functions. So foreign policy does not possess a universal meaning. Thus, several scholars have different conceptions of foreign policy. In this light, Adebijola 2013 sees foreign policy as the objectives which constitute a comprehensive plans that serve as goals that a country hopes to achieve in its relations with other members of the world. Thank you.
Chapter 3. Nigerian Foreign Policy since Independence. Since independence, Nigerian foreign policy has been characterized to focus on Africa and by attachment to several fundamental principles. These principles include African unity and independence, peaceful settlement of disputes, non-interference in the internal affairs of other nations, regional economic cooperation and development. And in carrying out these principles, Nigeria participates in the Organization of African Unity, the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, the Non-Aligned Movements, and the United Nations. Nigeria has maintained meaningful relations with the government of the UK, US, and other Western powers. As at November 1999, Nigeria and UK agreed on the joint military operations and training of their troops, regional relations. In pursuing the goal of regional economic cooperation and development, Nigeria helped create ECOWAS, which seeks to harmonize trade and investment practices for its 16 West African countries and ultimately to achieve a full custom region. Nigeria helped in creating ECOWAS monitoring group known as ECOMOG, a peacekeeping force primarily containing the Nigerian troops, which played an important role in helping to end the Liberian War. ECOMOG forces ousted the juntas, which toppled the Sierra Leonean President Ahmed Tijan Kaba in May 1997. Kaba was elected as the president in February 1996 and returned to power in March 1998. In 1999, Nigerian ECOMOG forces intervened in Sierra Leone's civil war, paving way for the United Nations peacekeepers. The swiftness and success with which Nigeria has intervened since the founding of ECOMOG and its leadership in showing its support both to ECOMOG and the UN interventions has gained Nigeria a significant ground in the international community for its strength and commitment that it has shown in regional force. ECOWAS announced the move towards having a common currency, and this led Nigeria was against it because they were careful of an accelerated path that might be detriment to the regional financial system. Nigeria has always enjoyed good relations with its immediate neighbors. A long-standing border dispute with Cameroon resurfaced in 1981, but relations were eased following a visit to Nigeria by the Cameroonian president in February 1996. Tensions in the mineral-rich Bakassi Peninsula resulted in fighting. Meanwhile, the ICJ, which is the International Court of Justice, considered the border disputes and then ruled that in September 1998, ruled that Nigeria should leave the Bakassi Peninsula to the Cameroon in late 2002. Nigeria initially rejected the ruling but later backed away from the statement. In 2003, Nigeria said it would take 3 years to cede control of the Bakassi Peninsula to the Cameroon. Nigeria began the slow process by giving the Cameroon control of over just 30 villages near Lake Chad, and in September 2004, the Nigerian Assembly asked for referendum on the issue of the Bakassi Peninsula. In addition to the Cameroon disputes, there was a border dispute with Chad. It flared up in the spring of 1983, but was eased by talks between the two governments of the countries. Nigerian land borders closed in April 1984 and was reopened in March 1986. And as at mid-August 2003, Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo agreed to reopen Nigerian border with Benin after having earlier in the week sealed off the border between the two countries because of alleged criminal activities across the frontier. Based on the foreign relations political overview, despite being unsuccessful, Nigeria has played major roles for several years in attempting to negotiate an end to the Sudan civil war, African Union. As at July 2nd, 2001, there was a meeting in Lusaka at Zambia for the Organization of African Unity. It was approved to transform from African unity to African Union. And the first Secretary General of the African Union was the former Prime Minister of Cote d'Ivoire, AJASIN. The goal of the African Union is to be a continental body that will pave way for a better life for all Africans. Thank you.
Chapter 4. Before the advent of Buhari administration, the previous administration, that is the administration of Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, has been ravaged with various allegations of corruption, the issue of Boko Haram, and then the fall in oil prices in the international market. The issue of Boko Haram was so rampant that the Boko Haram activities had to bomb so many infrastructure that belong to both Nigeria and other states. Such example is bombing of the United States Embassy and also the Nigeria Police Headquarters. Also is the incidence of Chibok girls' adoption in April 2014. Before the advent of Buhari's administration, Nigeria has been battling fall in oil price, and we all know that oil, that is crude oil, is the main source of Nigerian income. Buhari, on getting into power on 29th of May 2019, had begun to go on subtle diplomacy, that is going to different parts or countries of the world to try and sign bilateral and multilateral agreements with so many countries so as to enable Nigerians to boost the economy, stop corruption, and also to stop the issue of Boko Haram insurgency. This shuttle diplomacy has yielded some fruit. That is, for example, that is the issue of Chinese signing MOU with Nigerian government so as to enable Nigeria to boost its economic sector. To continue, the US government signed a bilateral agreement with Nigeria to help ban whosoever is caught to have been involved in electoral malpractices. And such ban has been upheld throughout the administration of the past president, that is Muhammadu Buhari. Buhari decided to close the Nigerian border the moment he came into power. He closed the Nigerian border so as to enable Nigerians to grow crops, to be involved in local activities, and to ensure rapid development of locally made goods. But this development was criticized because Buhari did not make plans for some necessary palliatives that ought to have been in place before he proceed with such development. And to continue, Buhari-led administration had a very good rapport with the US government, that is the administration of former President Donald Trump, in which our former president, that is Muhammadu Buhari, was the first to receive Trump's call from the members of all national leaders of the Saharan Africa. In dealing with Nigeria in the international system, it helped boost Nigerian economy and help stabilize Nigerian security, as US offered so many humanitarian aid and also provide ways at which we can combat insecurity in Nigeria. By this, it is noted that the foreign policy of Nigeria under Muhammadu Buhari is structured to combat and revitalize Nigerian economy, which is one, to fight corruption in the country, which is two, and also to fight against Boko Haram insurgency. These are the major thrusts of Buhari's foreign policy. Thank you.
In conclusion, the foreign policy of Buhari administration lacked national interest orientation. The administration has also gone against the interests of her citizens in order to protect the selfish interests of some politicians. The thrust of the Buhari foreign policy was to make Nigeria a corrupt-free country, boost the economy, and the reposition of Nigeria's security apparatus towards facilitating national security, regional integration, and bilateral relationship with the rest of the world. In order to achieve this, the Buhari foreign policy embarked on a bilateral talk with countries like France, USA, UK, China, etc. Despite so many efforts put in place by the president to enhance domestic and external environment, it only resulted to worse security challenges, worse economic policy, lack of respect for the rule of law, and delay in the dispensation of corrupt public office holders. Recommendation: President Buhari should focus more on the agricultural and mineral resources that will drive job and wealth creation towards enhancing gross domestic products and reduce the high inflation rate. President Buhari should obey the rule of law and prosecute all corrupt political office holders irrespective of their political parties. President Buhari should ensure the independence of judiciary and anti-graft agency in order for them to dutifully discharge their constitutional duties. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. My name is Omar Benjamin. My colleagues and I are here to present the impact of Ukrainian war on Nigeria. I'm from the Department of Political Science, matric number 180, 2091, 24. Thank you.
My name is Abacha from the Department of Political Science, matric number 190, 50, 30, 60. Thank you.
My name is Joseph Bisola Blessing from Department of Public Administration, matric number 190, 60, 57.
My name is Odunde Olamide from the Department of Political Science Education, matric number 180, 20, 91, 54.
My name is Olabeshulu Abubakar from Bilateral Political Science Education, matric number 180, 02, 09, 157.
My name is Oluwafemi Timileyin David from Political Science Department, matric number 180, 50, 31, 53.
My name is Akimade Goodness Omotayo from Department of Political Science major, 180, 50, 3149.
My name is Olusaname Precious Oladapo from Department of Political Science Education, matric number 1802, 09086.
My name is Susekan Pelumi Kelvin from Department of Political Science major, matric number 180503083.
My name is Audacia Precious Deborah from Department of Political Science and Education, matric number 180209074.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jimo Bashir, matric number 180503049, Department of Political Science major.
My name is Otayo Dolonfemi from Department of Political Science major, matric number 180502162.
My name is Sadio Yemira from Department of Political Science major, matric number 190503073.
My name is Afola Bolakunle from Department of Political Science, matric number 180503043.
My name is Oshimbu Joseph Oluwasegun, Public Administration, matriculation number 180604031.
My name is Tabofi Tolamide, Department of Political Science Education, matric number 180209044.
My name is Akimade Goodness. I will be taking chapter 1. Now, the Russian-Ukraine war started in year 2014 and has had significant impacts at the global stage, which has affected various global economies, various security measures in different nations of the world, most especially the neighboring countries between Ukraine and Russia itself. Now, Ukraine has historically served as a transit country for Russia gas exports to Europe, in the sense that the transport of gas from Russia passes through the land borders of Ukraine, and this has disrupted the flow of natural gas and has led to price volatility in the gas price. Now, Nigeria, as an oil exporting country, is indirectly affected by fluctuations in global energy markets, and this has been caused by the war between Russia and Ukraine. Furthermore, any disruption or instability in the price of the global energy will definitely affect Nigeria, because Nigeria relies heavily on the price of oil and oil revenue. Thank you.
I am Oluwafemi Timileyin David. I'll be taking chapter 2. The conflict in Ukraine has resulted in a humanitarian crisis. Nigeria may not be directly involved, but it can provide aid and support to other international countries to help relieve them of the impact of the war. And also, Nigeria needs to evaluate its policies and strategies and relations within the international organization, so it won't be directly affected with the war going on in Ukraine and Russia. To proceed, I would like to give a definition of war. War can be said to be a period or a time of civil unrest and combat in a country which leads to destruction of life and property. And to proceed, we look at the types of war. We have proxy war, we have interstate war, we have civil war, we have revolutionary war, we have ethnic and cultural war, and also causes of war. War can be said to be caused by various things, which are number one, cultural and ethnic difference, fight for power, violation of human rights, and fight for mineral resources and human resources. To proceed, to look at the impacts of war. We said war causes various degree of damages to the society and economy. So the impact of war is always negative. Number one, a war causes destruction of life and property. It causes disruption in the educational system of the country. It leads to trauma on the part of the victims, and it also destroys the economy and social layouts of a society. And lastly, the effects of war. War has various effects, economic effects. It disrupts the economic layout of the country, and we have security effects. Thank you.
Chapter 3. A brief history of the conflict. The Russian-Ukraine war, previously referred to as the Ukraine crisis, in its early stages, is an ongoing international conflict between Ukraine and Russia, alongside Russian-backed separatists, and Ukraine, which began in February 2014. However, in February 2022, Russia launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Russian President Vladimir Putin criticized the engagement of Ukraine in joining NATO, which is the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, and demanded that Ukraine be barred from ever joining the military alliances. As well, Ukraine has been a strategic stronghold in relating to Western countries and for its position in the Black Sea. The country manifested more of a desire of sovereignty and antipathy, especially in the West region against Russia. In order to protect the national interest and territory, the invasion became inevitable.
Chapter 4, which is data analysis and presentation of findings. The Russia-Ukraine conflict is renewed geopolitical rivalry between the Western powers and the Russian-Ukraine Federation. After the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, the confrontation between the two powers thinned down, but the effect was felt among the former Soviet republics. Now I'll be talking on the causes of Russia and Ukraine war. Kuzio and D. Anieri, in their liberal approach, posited that NATO should not have expanded the Eastern War to avoid confrontation, which expand its territory. NATO should not have expanded Eastern War to avoid the confrontation with Russia. However, Russia intends to expand its territory and gain recognition as a world power state. Now I'll be talking on the causes of Russia and Ukraine war. Now I'll be talking on the causes of Russia and Ukraine war. There are different causes and Ukraine war we have. Then number one is historical and cultural factor. Then we have the geopolitical competition. We have the Ukraine desire for European integration. Number 4 is dispute over the eastern Ukraine. Then number 5, the ethnic and linguistic divisions. Now I'll be talking on the war impact on Nigeria and Africa at large. The war was primarily in two countries, which is Ukraine and Russia. However, its impact did not only occur in the Eastern European country, however, it also affects other regions. I'll be listing the impact of war in Nigeria. Number 1, we have the geopolitical repercussion. Number 2, we have the economic consequences. Number 3, we have the energy sector effect. Number 4, we have the security concern. And number 5, we have the diplomatic implications. However, I'll be talking on the how Nigeria can minimize the Russia versus Ukraine war. The Russian versus Ukraine war has an impact in the Western Western country at large, but it also have its effect on other regions. However, the ways Nigeria can curb and minimize the impact of war in Nigeria. However, we have the diplomatic efforts, we have the economic partnership, we have the international cooperation, and we also have the humanitarian aid for support. Then lastly, we have the economic diversification.
I'll be taking the chapter 5, summary, conclusion and recommendation. The impact of Russia and Ukraine war on Nigeria and Africa, though indirect, carries implication. The conflict primarily affects the Eastern Europe, particularly Ukraine and Russia, while its effects extended to other regions. As Russia and Ukraine war unfold in a distant land, its ripples can be felt in the shore of Nigeria and the broader African continent. Economically, the war casts a shadow over the Nigeria's fortune. Global economic instability triggered by sanctions and market fluctuation imposed on Russia impacts Nigeria as a major player. Nigeria, being a populous nation with relative stability and economic stability, may attract those seeking fresh starts, while the impact of the Russia and Ukraine war on Nigeria remain indirect and contingent upon various factors. It serves as a reminder that global conflicts have far-reaching implications. Conclusively, while the direct impact of Russia and Ukraine war on Nigeria are limited, its indirect consequences must not be disregarded. As the conflicts unfold in Eastern Europe, Nigeria and Africa find themselves entwined in a web of interconnectedness with the wider world. Resolving the Russia and Ukraine war is a complex and challenging task. It requires diplomatic efforts, international cooperation, and commitment to peaceful negotiation. However, here are some steps that could contribute to the resolution of the conflict. They are diplomatic negotiation, ceasefire and de-escalation, response for international law, involvement of international actors, confidence building measures, addressing regional concern, international support for reconstruction, peacekeeping mission, rebuilding trust through cultural exchange, economic incentives and development. Conclusively, it is important to note that resolving the Russian and Ukraine war requires sustained commitment, flexibility from all parties, and willingness of the compromise.
My name is Babangida. You are listening from the Department of Public Administration, the matric number 180604061. My passion and the evaluation of Nigerian relations with China.
My name is Babangida from the Department of Political Science. My matric number is 1975772.
My name is Adekunle Joy, Department of Public Administration, matric number 180604110.
Good day, my name is Aini Kafaya Antoluwa Kemi, from Department of Public Administration with matric number 18664.
Good day everyone, my name is Kengi Damola, matric number 8020091669 from the Department of Political Science Education.
Hey everyone, my name is Warren Province for the Creative with the matric number 180290102 from the Department of Political Science and Education.
My name is Kolaji Ayedabo from the Department of Political Science, 180503041.
My name is Anike Kemkolani. My number 1806041 from the Department of Public Administration.
Good everyone, my name is Samuel Akinche, matric number 180209106 from Political Science Education.
Good day everyone, my name is Samuel Peter, matric number 180604058 from the Department of Public Administration. My name is Murtala Mohammed, matric number 1802090 from the Department of Political Science.
My name is Adiola Elizabeth, matric number 180209026 from the Department of Political Science Education.
My name is Adiola, matric number 180209049 from Political Science.
Good morning everyone, my name is Hussein Kubrasola, matric number 180209091 from the Department of Political Science Education.
My name is Kuya Fumila Eugene, Department of Political Science Education, matric number 180209105.
My name is Obasanjo.
Sorry. My name is Joyce. With matric number 186 from the Department of Public Administration.
My name is Alan Bilateral from the Department of Political Science and Education, 180209004. Tommy Singh with the matric number 180604094. I'm a student of Public Administration.
I'm Ebekele Olatutemdayo with the matriculation number 180604084 from the Department of Public Administration.
I'll be taking the introduction of this research. The People's Republic of Nigeria is often referred to as the modern-day miracle, as it continues to draw the attention of the entire world for its remarkable progress in economic development. Given the importance and the political emergence and complexities of China as the economic world power, it becomes important to study the strategic relationship between a democratic Nigeria and undemocratic China. Nigeria and China, their relationship between 1999 to 2009 was cordial and cooperative. Now, in 1960, Nigeria made their first contacts with China as Chinese delegates attended the independence celebration. In 1971, Nigeria established diplomatic ties with China as China and Nigeria opened embassies in each other's capital. China and Nigeria also has signed different and series of agreements on trade, commercial, and technological cooperations. China's main exports from Nigeria is light industrial, mechanical, and electrical products, while their imports from Nigeria is petroleum, timber, and cotton. It is, however, important to study the relationship between these two countries as it serves as greater benefits to great political thinkers and economists. Moving to the statement of problem, globalization in the 21st century holds majority sway as interdependencies have increased and deepened, and nation-states continues to adjust to the dictates of it. Now, the emergence of China was made public and it was aided by these concepts. For Nigeria to adjust to the globalization, they have to use China as an helping hand and a necessity. As irresistible as this relationship is, it is important to look into the problems of intention, the sincerity of their intention, and the level of their intention. However, we'll be looking into if this relationship is a win-win or it is not a win-win. But given the Nigerian political system, as we know that corruption has eaten deep and has served as a glitch to the Nigerian political system, it has hampered with the possibilities of win-win basis. Moving to the objectives of study. 1. To examine the impact of the relationship between China and Nigeria on the economic and political environment of Nigeria. 2. To analyze the foreign policies of both countries, especially regarding the divides in the political processes. Looking at the research questions, we'll be looking at 1. How China-Nigeria relationship has impacted on the economic and political environment of Nigeria, and 2. How their foreign policies, how their relationship has been affected by their foreign policies. We'll be looking at the research hypothesis. We'll be looking at the impact of Nigeria-China relationship on the economic and political environment of Nigeria. Meanwhile, we'll be looking at the positive and the negative aspect of it. Moving to the significance of study. This study is relevant to policy makers, political analysts, business thinkers, students, and others. However, this research serves as a source of information to further researchers in their work or in their field of study. Moving to the scope of study. Given the historical background of each countries, it is necessary to note that their basis for this relationship was not made known until 1999, when Nigeria started enjoying the long-lasting democratic processes, and this made China to agree to be in a relationship, a foreign relationship with Nigeria.
Taking a look at the foreign policy, the types of situation, the theory of interdependency theory and the unequal theory, the theory of unequal exchange, and the economic and trade relationship, then the bilateral relations. The bilateral relationship by the first point of contact exists because each country wants the social and economic growth and development of their nation at large, and this has brought Nigeria and China into such an agreement, in the sense that they brought this arrangement between them was just in a bid to enhance the foreign direct investment to each countries. As we all know that majorly China is a modern day miracle, and they are the second largest economy in the world, and they are into the production of low cost products, and they are into different things like trade, like into the sector, construction and infrastructure. In the area of theory of interdependency, there is a need for there to be an interaction between two nations, as one nation is not dependent, cannot be independent on itself alone, and has to depend on other factors and other countries for its survival. In the area of economic trade and relations, Nigeria and China are into too many things, just as the construction. Like we have the Chinese construction companies across doing various construction works across Nigeria, the Lekki Free Trade Zone, the Ogun Bandung Free Trade Zone, and others like that. This is just done in order to ensure socio-economic growth and development. But this agreement also have the positive and negative impact, as China as a whole in the exchange, in the trade exchange, cultural exchange, economic exchange, they are on the better part, are they on the positive impact. They are mostly receiving the benefit more than Nigeria is, just like a two-sided agreement between the two nations, as it's more positive, and China gains more than Nigeria in this aspect. In the area of unequal exchange, in the area of bilateral trade relations, the two countries came together to ensure the socio-economic growth and development of both nations at large. As I said before, we all know that the positive and negative impact is more than Nigeria is doing in this kind of relationship, and this has stemmed the growth and development of the nations. But within the course of the study, we will be given a brief in other chapters on what can be done in order to ensure the growth and development of such countries.
Yes, I'll be taking the chapter 3. This chapter dwells on various steps to be adopted. I'll be taking the chapter 3. The chapter dwells on various steps to be adopted in studying the research problem as the logic behind them. These various research steps are research design, research population, sampling and sampling techniques, instruments, and data. I'll be talking about the research design. The research design is based on historical and descriptive research design. A historical research design is made to analyze the link between the relationship of Nigeria and China and their political economy relation, to have a full knowledge with both the variables being examined. Then I'll be talking about the research population. The research population work, the target work are based on the country, which is Nigeria. Then I'm talking about the sample and sampling techniques. The sampling techniques was based on AAUA alone in order to carry out the research as well.
Sharing both states were able to benefit from each other. Bilateral relationship, it is the status of state relationship between two countries that encompass various dimensions. Impact of the relationship of Nigeria. Impact of the relationship on Nigeria's domestic and internal affairs. The findings review of relationship between China and Nigeria that has greatly impacted and promoted the economic sector of Nigeria. As the relationship affected the foreign policies, the relationship between Nigeria and China has greatly affected foreign policy. Thank you.
Oh yeah.
I'll be talking about chapter 5. We talk about the summary, conclusion, and recommendations of the study. In chapter 1, it contains introduction to the research background, statements of problems, research hypotheses, research questions, aims, and objective significance of the study. In holistic review of this research, the study between the Nigeria-Chinese relationship, it talks about the implications, prospects, and problems of the two countries, which examine the mutually beneficial or the negative consequences of the relationship between the two countries. Also, in chapter 2, we talk about it takes a look at the critical review of the literature, which talks about the both political and economic aspects. In chapter 3, a method was used as a sample population and formulation of the hypothesis, which was used in the research study.
In Chapter 4, all the data collected were presented as analysis, which was used as a research in the race of this study. And also, it was assumed that no state can develop on its own. For a state to achieve its aims and objectives by the foreign policy, domestic factors, and so on, it needs to relate with other countries. Also, in conclusion, the huge contracts and potential benefits of this country are of great advantage to each other. In our findings, we also state that the Nigeria bilateral are of great disadvantage to the China's as advantage. Also, in the recommendations, Nigerians' interest in entry into bilateral economic relations with China in 1971 arose partly from the fact that relationship will be devoid of the mutual servant-master relationship. Nigeria can learn from the trend of reflecting China and create policies in such a manner that economic of Nigeria becomes the focus of development. Thank you.
My name is Afifewa George Aduma, Department of Public
My name is Olatunji Alaba from Department of Political Science Education, Foreign Level. And my ticket number is 1802-09-110.
Traditionally, African countries, particularly Nigeria, have traded vigorously with developed nations, especially the European Union, Canada, and the United States. China's first contact with Africa generally was in the 15th century, when some Chinese traders and explorers landed along the coast of Africa. In Nigeria's case, the country contact with China unofficially beginning in the 1950s. 1957 to be precise.
China's first contact with Africa generally was in the 15th century, when some Chinese traders and explorers landed along the coast of Africa. In Nigeria's case, the country contact with China unofficially began in the 1950s, 1957 to be precise. Then we have to look at the statement of the problem. This asks the fundamental questions such as the Nigerian-China bilateral trade enhanced the volume of Chinese trade with Nigeria within the period of the study? That is number one question. Number two question, has the increase in the volume of Nigerian-China trade enhanced economic development in Nigeria within the period of the study? Then we have to look at the importance of the study. The importance of the study states that it relates the importance of bilateral trade relation as a means of change and development, most certainly when the nations involved are in need of each other.
This chapter is a review of a number of literature which will enhance our understanding
understanding of Nigeria-China trade relations, trends, problems, benefits, and prospects to each country. Much of the review shall be centered on the following themes. 1. International trade. International trade is the exchange of goods, capital, and services across international borders or territory. And the reason for this is that no nation is self-sufficient and no nation has it all. So they have to depend on the need of the country that has what they need in order to satisfy their own needs. Another point here is Nigeria-China bilateral relations and theory of trade. Nigeria has been in a very cordial relation with China except from 1967 and 1973. Biafra war when China were against the federal government of Nigeria by supporting the Biafra by supplying them lighting arm. Another point is Nigeria-China trade relations development and economic development. China has seen Nigeria as a very excellent market for their products, and Nigeria and China have reached several agreements on scientific technological investment and so on. Our theoretical framework will be centered on the theory of interdependence. Our theoretical framework will be centered on the theory of interdependence. The theory of interdependence suits this study because no nation has it all and no nation is self-sufficient, so they depend on each other in terms of capital, goods, and services.
Now, talking about the research methodology. For the purpose of this research or the study, the data are collected from a secondary source. This involves the use of book, magazine, newspaper, and journals, or other related materials for the topics under the study. Data collected and analyzed to examine the trend, problem, and prospects of the economy and trade relations between China and Nigeria. Now, research design is a plan or structure of investigation. Now, because of their historical content and analysis involved, ex post facto designers and this research is an independent variable. Now, the hypothesis comprises of both independent and dependent variables because of its effects of the former on the latter. Now, looking at the research that has been carried out, we are going to look at 5 types of relationship that exists between Nigeria and China. Now, look, the first one is the growth in cultural linkage between China. Now, when we look at China and Nigeria, they have different historical background. They have different cultural relations. But Benji had to come up with Chinese culture in Nigeria. Now, we have Nnamdi Azikiwe University in 2076, which came up with Confucius Institute, whereby Nigerian students are taught or trained on Chinese language. Now, we have the Nigerian movie industry. We can see that Nigerian movie industry, the Chinese movie industry, is selling so fast in Nigeria. We can see in 2015 December, where a movie was produced and every Nigeria and the government had much interest in it. Now, we have the other one, Nigeria-China trade in oil sector. Now, China has invested so much in Nigeria oil sector, having a 45% stake in the economy of 2.27 billion. We have the Nigeria-China trade in agricultural sector. Now, due to the large population in Nigeria, China trade in agricultural sector. Now, due to Nigeria's large population, we can see that it's inefficient to produce more for its citizens. And Nigeria, we know that Nigeria mainly depends on cocoa and rubber, and this is not enough. But because of their oil markets and their relation with other nations, has helped them to feed their community and feed their citizens. So looking at China now, China has helped to develop in Nigeria agricultural sector. Now, the fourth one, which is Nigeria trade in telecommunication sector. Now, in Nigeria, we can see phones made from China, we can see satellite, we can see GoTV, we can see DSTV, we can see StarTime. So these are a means of relationship that exists between Nigeria and China. We can see some of their telecommunications that are imported in Nigeria, and we make use of most of these things. Now, the last one, which is Nigeria-China trade in transportation sector. Now, the railway has historically been an important and efficient means of moving goods and people in the region. Chinese investment in Nigeria railway system began in 2017 when Guangdong Xinga International Group signed a contract with Nigerian government. We can see how railway has come to help people transport goods from one area to another. Thank you.
My name is Buhari and I'm talking about the impact of Nigerian-China trade economic development in Nigeria. The Sino-Nigerian relationship is predicated on the fact that the two countries have economic complementaries. China is the largest single market in the world with 13.3 billion market value, while Nigeria is the largest in Africa with over 160 million. China's major investors in Nigeria are the China National Offshore Oil Company and China Renewable Construction. China's investment in Nigeria reached the net value of $15.42 billion in 2012. Similarly, trade between Nigeria and China. The Nigerian economy has improved tremendously as a result of foreign investment from China. China also provided military aid in fighting insurgents in the oil-rich Niger Delta to protect Nigeria's oil resources. China helped develop and launched the Nigerian communications satellite by 2017 to expand cellular and internet networks in Central Africa. The Nigerian government has made indications for enhanced economic ties with China, as Chinese investment is paramount to Nigeria's development and growth. Thank you.
In conclusion to the research work, so Nigeria enhanced economic development in Nigeria within a period of study to make our analysis clear. We use the complex interdependence theory as our theoretical framework. The theory assumes that the economies of the state are inextricably tied together and that mutual benefits accrue to states in their interstate trade relations. Consequently, through Chinese business in Nigeria, loans and other forms of assistance accompanying trade from China, the Nigeria-China engagement enhanced economic development in Nigeria within the period of study. The study demonstrated empirically the impact of Nigeria-China trade engagement on economic development in Nigeria, in creation of local jobs, poverty reduction, infrastructure development in forms of road, railway, bridges, finance partly through revenue generated from Chinese-based firm and financial assistance in form of loans and aids.
Department of Political Science Education with the matric number 180209030. We are here to present on the topic Evaluation of Nigeria's Contribution to African Development. Thank you.
My name is Atilola Fibo Elizabeth from the Department of Public Administration, matric number 180604108.
Mbinga from the Department of Political Science, matric number 180503051.
Everyone, my name is David Watson from the Department of Political Science, from the Department of Public Administration, matriculation number 186604.
My name is Simon Sunday from the Department of Political Science, matric number 180503039.
I'm from the Department of Political Science with the matric number 180503048.
Matric number 1805030.
My name is Atonda Olamide from the Department of Political Science with the matric number 180503086.
From the Department of Political Science Education with the matric number 1821913.
My name is Somo from the Department of Political Science Education.
Hey everyone, I'm Fashaya Yodeji from the Department of Public Administration with matric number 180604078.
Everybody, my name is Ali Victoria Temizombe from the Department of Political Science Education with the matric number 180209116.
From the Department of Public Administration, 180604000.
Everyone, my name is Boyede Joshua from the Department of Public Administration with the matriculation number 180604000.
From the Department of Public Administration with the matric number of 180604019.
I want you to just Gowon is my name, matric number 180503140
Political Science Department.
I'm here to present Chapter 1 on the evaluation of Nigerian contribution to Africa's development. Historically, Nigeria has contributed immensely to the development of Nigeria's African society. And going back down the memory lane, it started from Balewa in 1960, when most of the principles of Nigeria was directed towards African development. And that brought Nigeria into the limelight, making Nigeria to be Africa to be the centerpiece of Nigerian foreign policy. Moving to that of Cold War. After the Cold War era, we got to discover that Nigeria learned so many lessons, and which made them to create good neighborliness and friendliness with other African countries, simply because during the time of civil war, we got to discover that so many African countries formed an ally with Biafran society, that when Nigeria recuperated from that, we got to discover again that was what made Nigeria to say, now we need to create a good neighborliness in order to break the shackles and the entanglement between other African countries with the international communities, thereby making Nigeria to start contributing immensely to the development of African society. Now, when we talk about this contribution, it ranges, and starting from when we talk about financial aid, Nigeria gave so many financial aid to its neighboring countries. And when we talk about peacekeeping as well, we got to discover that during the time of Babangida regime, we saw that Babangida spearheaded the formation of ECOWAS ceasefire monitoring group, which was saddled with the responsibilities of maintaining peace in so many African countries. These and many more we get to know in the course of this study. And the question that came to mind is this, in our research question, is in what measure, in what degree did Nigeria partake in its contribution towards African development? And what are the implications of all this Nigerian contribution to African development? These and many more we get to know in the course of my other colleagues trying to do it. Thank you.
To review the chapter 2. What are theoretical reviews? They are the evaluation, the existing theories, and the models and frameworks. And here we are going to be talking about the evaluation of African contribution, of Nigerian contribution towards African development. Here we'll talk about their roles: 1, as the vanguard of peace; 2, as the guardian of sovereignty and the promoter of good governance. Here we'll now Murtala and Obasanjo were the panaceas of this, because they made sure they promoted this in their era, and they were part of the Nigeria was part of the people that established the OAU, Organization of African Unity, and ABD, the African Developmental Bank. They also make sure that they show that some of the financial aspects of these great organizations. Also, they were involved in the financing or in the building of trust fund for the financing of projects in other African countries. Now, talking about the empirical review. What is empirical review? The gathering, the analyzing of the evidences that exist in order for you to answer our research question. And what are our research questions? Just like my colleague has said, our research questions are the measures of Nigerian contributions towards African development. Also, the implications of their contribution towards African development. And what are these evidences that I talked about? According to Sherry 2009, it talks about that Nigeria provided aid and revenues to African countries facing economical, political, and social challenges, and for them to be part of the development in other developments in African countries, they need to tackle the internal forces in Nigeria, such as corruption. Also, Osimhen et al. In 2015 discussed that Nigeria helped in the resolving conflicts of other countries, especially after the Cold War era. So, for this to be achieved, it emphasized that there is a need for Nigeria to address structural problems in order for them to efficiently and effectively tackle conflicts in other continents. Also, Joseph 2013 also focuses on Nigerian contribution in liberating South Africa. And while liberating South Africa, in order to strengthen their bilateral relations, and for this to be done, he suggested that Nigeria should be more focused in their internal peace, security, and economic development for the betterment of all Nigerians. Even Joseph and John 2019 followed this suggestion to shut all these evidences. I'm going to stop by saying that for Nigeria to progress better, we have to focus on our internal challenges and prioritize the well-being of its citizens. Thank you.
The overview of the study. The overview of the study is talking about how Nigeria is a major player in Africa due to its large population, influential markets, powerful military, and so many other things. The size and potential for greatness make it a crucial role for African politics. Nigerian neighboring countries tend to total leadership because of the economic benefits they receive. The main aim of Nigeria is to prevent any harm that could hinder their political stability and economic desire to maintain a fulfilling prosperity and unity and direction.
Talk about chapter 4, discussion of findings. Nigeria's reaction and approach to foreign policy right from time has been a very positive. Nigeria has made all possible efforts to contribute to the development of African countries and peace and unity. So what are the ways that Nigeria has contributed to African development and country? In 1972, we partnered with Niger Republic to supply 30,000 kilowatts of electricity from Nigeria's own hydroelectricity from Kanji Dam. This is even despite the fact that Nigeria was not able to supply electricity to its own land. At that period of time, there was shortage of electricity in Nigeria. Again, in 1974, Nigeria donated to Niger relief materials worth millions of naira when Niger was ravaged by several floods. We can also see another way that Nigeria has contributed to African development. In March and April 1979, Nigeria worked hard through Kano peace talk to prevent the externalization of conflicts in Chad, as France and Libya participated on both sides. of the war. Nigeria also maintained African unity. We can see this in 1979 when Nigeria maintained that there is recolonization in Chad. Nigeria has made several attempts to make sure that there is existence and coexistence of peace and unity among African states. For example, Nigeria entered into a security cooperation agreement with Equatorial Guinea in 2007 to restore the president of Guinea, which was taken off by a coup. He made sure that he came about a strategy and a way to restore the president back to office. So, from the Commonwealth Prime Minister's Conference in March 1961, Nigeria under Arosin banned Portuguese ships and aircraft coming and going from apartheid South Africa. Nigeria's significant role in South Africa cannot be overlooked. Nigerians played a very significant role by opposing apartheid in South Africa. Nigeria made sure that they also engage in liberation movements. They engage in boycott strategies, and they also came up and host different conferences to ensure there is unity and oneness without racial color differences in South Africa. Also, Nigeria established a South African relief, into which donation from Nigeria poured by which 1970.
Hey everyone, my name is Raji Michael Ayorimposi, the group leader for Group 20. I am a team talking about politics and outcome of Nigeria debt relief.
My name is Olabai Victoria Tolokwe, matric number 180-209-147, Department of Political Science Education.
My name is Joseph Omokoga, matric number 180-50-30-56, from the Department of Political Science.
My name is Olashupo Olaide Abeni, matriculation number 180-60-40-24, from the Department of Public Administration.
Hey everyone, my name is Olashupo Ifedolapo Monsurat, matric number 180-60-40-15, from the Department of Public Administration.
My name is Alira Blessing, matric number 180-60-40-13, Department of Public Administration.
Matric number Y29144, Department of Political Science Education.
Sumayya Esther from the Department of Public Administration, matric number 180-604-109.
My name is Lawal Taiwo Azan, matric number 180-2091-48 from Department of Political Science Education.
My name is Edwin Ojumoluwabumi, matric number 180-50-31-36 from the Department of Political Science.
My name is Mlayo Isne Deborah, matric number 180-60-40-27, Department of Public Administration.
Hello everyone, my name is Alade Adrakunle from the Department of Political Science Education with matric number 180-20-91-63. Thank you.
My name is Oriyomi Temitope Elizabeth, matric number 180-60-40-57 from Department of Public Administration.
My name is Akinwale Oluwatoyin Esther, matric number 180-20-9006 from Department of Political Science Education.
Zawo Amishako Oluwatosin, matric number 187-209-130 from Department of Political Science Education.
My name is Rajimaike Ayomposi, matric number 180-20-9125 from Department of Political Science Education.
My name is Olagbaye Victoria Tolope, and I'm here to talk about the introduction of politics as an outcome of Nigerian debt relief. The Nigerian government plays a crucial role in negotiating and implementing a debt relief agreement, requiring a commitment to economic stability and responsible financial management. Successful debt relief can lead to positive political outcomes. However, long-term sustainability and prudent fiscal politics are essential for lasting socio-economic development. The effective utilization of freed-up resources, particularly in key sectors, is crucial for achieving positive outcomes from debt relief programs. Also, the concept of "he who owes must pay" in politics highlights the responsibility of government to honor their financial obligation. Nigerian debt relief outcome is influenced by various factors, including political action, economic conditions, and international dynamics.
So we're talking on the historical overview of Nigeria's debt crisis. Now, Nigeria's external debt dates back to 1958 when Nigeria took its first loan of $28 million for the construction of a railway. Now, from 1958 to 1977, all the major loans taken by the Nigerian government were all concessional loans, which means they had longer repayment period and they had lower interest rates. Now, with the fall of oil price in the late 1970s, it affected the Nigerian government finances, which led to more borrowing in 1978. Now, in 1978, Decree number 30 placed a limitation on the amount of external loans the government could take, which to the tune of 5 billion naira. And the government took its first jumbo loan of $1.1 billion, which increased Nigeria's debt stock to $2.2 billion. Fast forward to 1982, and Nigeria's debt stock had increased to $13.1 billion, $33.1 billion in 1990, and by the end of 2004, Nigeria's debt stock had increased to $36 billion, $33.1 billion being owed, or $31 billion being owed to the Paris Club of Creditors and the rest multilateral creditors and commercial creditors. Now, it's very important to note that Nigeria's line of creditors has always included the Paris Club of Creditors, the London Club of Creditors, multilateral creditors like the IMF, World Bank, African Development Bank, bilateral creditors, promissory notes creditors, and other private creditors. Now, Nigeria was facing economic stagnation, which led President Olusegun Obasanjo and his finance minister to travel all over the world for debt relief. And thanks to Okonjo Iweala's advocacy efforts and diplomatic skills, she was able to secure an $18 billion debt relief for Nigeria, which was the biggest in the history given to any African state. Thank you.
I'll be talking about the of debt relief, which I'm going to start with the negative impact of debt burden. Debt burden is compared to the historical atrocity of the slave trade hindering the nation's development. Another critical point is creditors have increased the debt burden through long-term rescheduling, making repayment challenging. Another factor is Nigeria has been spending over $2 billion annually on debt servicing, affecting its ability to allocate resources to crucial sectors. Another point is Nigeria pursuit of debt relief. After the return to civilian rule in 1999, Nigeria made debt relief a priority due to its unstable debt levels and the need to achieve its Millennium Development Goals. Another point is the Debt Management Office, DMO, was established in October 2000 as the sole agency responsible for managing the country's debt. Another point is Nigeria debt relief. This with the Paris Club. The Paris Club announced debt relief for Nigeria in 2005, known as NAPUSTA. The agreement consisted of 3 parts: debt stock reduction, clearance of arrears, and payback. Nigeria settled $6 billion in arrears and saw a 60% reduction, 18 billion in a total indebtedness to the Paris Club. The remaining debt was paid back at discount. The last part, which is successful debt relief outcome, on June 29, 2020, $18 billion debt relief package was agreed upon, resulting in a 60% debt cancellation out of the 31 billion owned. The debt relief granted to Nigeria was a humanitarian measure owing to permanently free Nigeria from the debt trap and curb political control through debt manipulation. Nigeria significantly reduced its debt owed to the London Club of Creditors. Nigeria's remaining external debt was around $3.35 billion, composed of multilateral, bilateral, and commercial debt. The talking points provide an overview of the politics surrounding Nigeria's debt relief efforts, highlighting the challenges faced and the achievements made in reducing the debt burden.
I'm talking on the impact of debt relief on the economic growth. Politics relief debt system refers to the complex and up-to negotiation and implementation of debt relief programs. As early as 2000, Nigeria has been one of the most indebted countries in the world, with a debt stock of over $36 billion. On the 20th of June 2005, Nigeria made a NAPO term agreement with the Paris Club. This NAPO term agreement means the Paris Club will write off 60% of Nigerians' debt, which is $18 billion. Debt relief is meant to be an instrument to reduce debt overhang, increase the growth of the country, and improve government structure. Between 1958 to 1977, the level of our external debt was minimal until 2003, when it escalated and reached a proportion of over $2.3 billion to service its debt. The high debt burden began to have grave impact on our economy and welfare of the people. External debt poses serious challenges on the economy because it can lead to capital fight and discouragement of investment. In conclusion, politics and outcome of debt relief initiative in Nigeria are closely intertwined. Political actors and institutions exert influence on the effectiveness of these programs. Political narratives, political power dynamics, and policy decisions shape the implementation of debt relief measures. By implementing the following recommendations, policymakers can improve the impact and sustainability of debt relief programs in Nigeria. First, strengthen transparency and accountability of debt relief funds, ensuring proper utilization and minimizing corruption risks. Also, political commitments from domestic and international stakeholders to foster inclusivity and effectiveness of debt relief. Building institutional capacity for effective debt management and relief implementation. Address potential political challenges hindering debt relief programs, such as bureaucratic hurdles and resistance to change. And lastly, promote long-term economic development alongside debt relief efforts, integrating strategies for infrastructure investment like education, healthcare, and job creation. Thank you.
Lovely moment to you all. My name is Atera Ebamuluatose from the Department of Political Science, and we are Group 13, and I am a group member is going to deliver the project's work titled Nigeria and International Organization, the Gain and Losses. But before we go to the content of this work, I would like to invite my group members to introduce themselves, their names, matric number, and departments. Once again, my name is Atera Ebamuluatose, matric number 180 3099. Thank you very much.
My name is Collins Akejo, and I'm from the Department of Political Science, matric number 180503064.
My name is Badejo Olwashidu, matric number 180223030, Department Adult Education.
My name is Obarola Yemisi, matric number 180503063, Political Science.
My name is Babangida, matric number 1802935, Political Science Education.
is Israel Oluwaferomi, matric number 180503069 from the Department of Political Science.
My name is Edema Mbonale from the Department of Political Science, matric number 180503031.
My name is Ogumalawa Oluwaseun Gabriel, Department of Political Science, matric number 180503131.
My name is Oshobaja Lamini from the Department of Political Science Education, matric number 1020901.
My name is Omariga Cecilia, matric number 180223034, Department of Adult Education.
My name is Bilateral from the Department of Political Science. My matric number is 1805314.
My name is Abubakar from the Department of Public Administration, the matric number 180604099.
Matric number 180604056 from the Department of Public Administration.
My name is Adwale Mobolaji, matric number 180209021, Department of Political Science Education.
My name is Sogwetaye Alice, matric number 180503079, Political Science.
My name is Adwale Naomi Adenike, Department of Public Administration, 18060, matric number 1806417.
My name is Zakari Dodisola, matric number 180503035, Political Science.
Ms. Ariyo Sama Yomide, matric number 180604006 from Public Administration Department.
I'm Adedu Kwabedi Sadiq from Department of Political Science, matric number 180503109. Thank you. It's another Peter, matric number 180503157 from Political Science Department.
Yeah. Once again, my name is Collins with matric number 180503064 for Political Science Department. So, for this work, I am presenting Chapter 1. And Chapter 1 is the background to the study of Nigeria in international organization, gain and the losses. So, the background to this work will take us back to Nigerian independence period in 1960. So, immediately after Nigerian independence, Nigeria joined the United Nations Organization. And also, Nigeria played a significant role in the establishment of Organization of African Unity in 1963. And also in 1975, Nigeria played a significant role in the establishment of ECOWAS, which is an economic community of West African states. And over time since then, Nigeria has been playing significant roles and making reasonable contribution to international organizations in which Nigeria has claimed membership with. For instance, in ECOWAS, Nigeria has played several roles, such as humanitarian roles, such as military support and financial support to other African countries that are in need of this support. Then also in the United Nations, Nigeria has also played a significant role in financial contribution, military support, and technical aid support to countries under crisis and political instability. So, for the purpose of this work, we'll be looking at the objective of the study, the significance of the study, the research methodology, and the chapterization. For the significance of the study, the purpose of the work is to gather information and data which will help further research, which will help researchers in their further studies about in the area of Nigerian international organization. Then the objective is to examine the roles of Nigerian international organizations, the challenges faced by Nigerian international organization. Then the research question is, what are the roles of Nigerian international organizations? Then what are the challenges faced by Nigerian international organizations, and what are the contributions of Nigeria to international organizations? So the methodology, this research work is going to gather data using the secondary source of data, which is getting information from published newspaper, journals, published textbooks, and existing literatures. And lastly, the methodology, the chapterization. This work is divided into 5 chapters. Chapter 1, which is the introduction. Chapter 2, which is the conceptual clarification and literature review. Chapter 3, which is the rules of Nigeria, the historical review of Nigeria in international organization, and chapter 4 is Nigeria in international organization. And for comprehensiveness, we limited the scope of this work to ECOWAS and African Union AU. And lastly, the chapter 5 of the work is the conclusion, the summary, and the recommendation. Thank you.
From Department of Political Science Education, matric number 180209013. I'm going to talk about the chapter 2 of the work, which has to do with conceptual clarification and literature review. Under this, we are going to check the meaning of international organization, which can be described as the forum of cooperation of sovereign states. It's a process whereby the sovereign states come together in order to defend their national interest. International organization can be classified into three aspects. The first one we'll talk about non-governmental organization. The second one we're going to talk about intergovernmental organization, and the third one we're going to talk about multinational corporation. The first one where I'll talk about the non-governmental organization is a non-profit organization, but to cater for the needs of their membership. They are to promote human rights and the social development. Example of such organization are Association of Medical Doctors of Asia, AMDA, and also under it we also have Care Humanitarian Organization fighting against global poverty, and also we also have Emergency Nutrition Networking and Global Humanitarian Assistance etc. I hope we should move straight to intergovernmental organization. It is an entity created by the two or more nations to achieve the common interest. Example of such organization are Atlantic Trade Organization, NATO, European Union, International Organization for Migration, IOM, and also we move straight to the third aspect, which is multinational corporation. They are also engaged in international trade, e.g. Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Pampers, Nescafe, Apple, Amazon. Those are the examples of multinational corporation. Most of earlier stated of international organizations have contributed to Nigeria in one way or the other. Let's quickly move straight to the literature review of this work, which are the Economic Community of the West Africa, ECOWAS, the Nigeria and Togo Initiative. This is the relationship between Nigeria and Togo, is to support the integrated idea. And the third one, the importance of ECOWAS in the West Africa sub-region. The fourth one is the Nigeria and Africa Union, AU. And lastly, achievement and shortcoming of OAU, now known as AU. Thanks.
My name is Abubakar from the Department of Political Science. I'll be taking us through the historical background of the study. Firstly, I want us to know that there have been corporations among states in ancient times. However, these corporations are not based on the form of shattered legal entity. States went into pacts, and then they form alliance in order to promote and further their interests. So the formation of international organization dates back to 19th century, when states started seeing the reasons for global integration and the reasons for global cooperation in order to foster, peace, security, and to foster economic development in the world globally. So there are of international organizations. We have international non-governmental organization and international governmental organization. The formation of international non-governmental organization dates back to the formation of Red Cross in 1963, and the formation of international governmental organization dates back to 1999, when the League of Nations was founded by an American president. I want us to know the main reason why this League of Nations was established in 1999 was due to after the end of the Second World War, the need to prevent further wars and to maintain stability, peace, and security internationally led to the formation of this League of Nations in 1919 by the American president. Furthermore, in 1945, the United Nations was established in order to also foster cooperation among countries of the world, and then to ensure stability and to ensure peace and security internationally. Nigeria joined United Nations after independence in early 1960. Also, Nigeria was one of the founding members of the Organization of African Union, that is OAU, on 25th of May 1963. Furthermore, the Economic Commission of West African States was established on 28th of May 1975. Nigeria contributed greatly in the formation of this organization.
My name is Gabriel from the Department of Political Science. I will be taking the chapter 4, International Organization, focusing on ECOWAS and African Union. Nigerian role in various international organizations have been a proactive one over the years, given their participation in ECOWAS and African Union. Now, for example, taking it back to the apartheid, where they actually helped the South Africa, and also during colonization, racism, and they were being declared the frontline states. Now, moving to the United Nations Organization, where Nigeria played a significant role in helping them through doing peacekeeping in Congo, Tanzania, Tunisia, and other African countries. Now we'll be moving down to role of Nigeria in ECOWAS. Number one is assistance. Nigeria rendering assistance to all other African countries during war, countries like Mali, countries like Liberia, countries like Togo. And also, Nigeria played a significant role through the creation of TAG that was actually created by Ibrahim Babangida IBB in 1987 just to promote Nigerian national foreign policy all across Nigeria. Now moving down to the role contributed by Nigeria in African Union. In 1990s, OAU, Organization of African Unity, aggressively condemned unconstitutionalism in Africa, thereby declaring coup in some particular areas in Africa unconstitutional. Countries like Burundi, Togo, Sierra Leone. Now, Nigeria played a significant role, thereby standing up against all these unconstitutional acts, thereby providing democratic activities and also provision in countries like Liberia, Mali, etc. Thank you very much.
Hello once again, I'm Adekunle. So I'll be taking us through the chapter 5 of our presentation. Our topic is majorly focused on the Nigerian International Organization, gains and losses. And our project is being divided into 5 different chapters. So we have our chapter 1 dealing with the total introduction, background of the studies, research questions, methodologies, and what have you. Our chapter 2 is based on literature review and conceptual clarification, while our chapter 3 is based on historizing the theme of our topic, while our chapter 4 deals with Nigerian International Organization. Chapter 5 is what I'm doing right now, which deals with, once again, summary, conclusion, and recommendations. In summary, we can deduce that Nigeria has been involved in major decision-making in international organizations. To be exact, it has to do with our regional and sub-regional organization, where we have ECOWAS and African Union, as the case might be. Involvement in international organizations, specifically ECOWAS and African Union, tend to be in a projection of both advantage and disadvantage in our political, social, and economic areas. However, it is of good interest that the advantages that Nigeria has gained is more than the disadvantages. So therefore, we can conclusively say that Nigeria involvement has been in the prime of Nigeria, playing a big brother role to majority of African countries. Is of an advantage to our economy. Therefore, Nigeria should not withhold or reduce our contributions to international organizations. However, Nigerian government should try to put on a means of education or orientation to Nigerian citizens so they will know what international organizations are and the one Nigeria is getting itself or herself involved in. So we'll give it a first year.
My name is Akidere Murenikeji from Political Science Department, matric number 180503125.
Ogunti Grace Folashade, matric number 180209095, Political Science Education.
Ajiwoju Rachel Olubukola, matric number 180641116, Public Administration.
Omodele Blessing, matric number 180209075, Political Science Education.
Adeyelu Aitiade, matric number 180604077, Department of Public Administration.
Adetelegon Bukola Bosede, matric number 180604020, Public Administration.
Adebayo Ikijesun Rachel, matric number 1806043, Department of Public Administration. Ogunfusika Oluwawemimo Victoria, matric number 180503095, Political Science.
Ugule Egofeola Alani, matric number 180503128, Political Science.
Keshiro Samuel Timileyin, matric number 180503159, Political Science major.
Olopite Kayode, matric number 180503034, Political Science.
My name is Obulide David Adiemi, Department of Political Science Education, 18020997.
My name is Bolarin Wadolapo with matric number 180604035, Department of Public Administration.
Akinade Oluwabisola Oluwatosin, matric number 180503150, Political Science. I am Oguniran Ifeoluwa Deborah from Political Science Education Department, matric number 180209022, and I will be taking the introductory part of the topic, which says evaluating the implementation of Nigeria's foreign policy under civilian administration. The international system is symbiotic in nature, leading to the notion that no nation can exist in an island, as states cannot do without relating with each other. It is therefore imperative for states to frame their foreign policy in order for the advancement of national interest. According to AZA 2010, it posited that every country's foreign policy should be in service of its national interest. It is also crucial to identify the major approaches of formation and evaluation of foreign policy. This evaluation can be subsumed under the domestic and external environments of foreign policy. This paper seeks to analyze the evaluation and implementation of Nigeria's foreign policy under the civilian rules, and it also utilizes the linkage and national interest approach as a theoretical framework to explain the intricate relationship between the internal and external environments in the foreign policy making process. Also to examine some issues and some impediments under the civilian rules. The civilian rules started from President Olusegun Obasanjo, 1999 to 2007. Umaru Musa Yar'Adua and also Goodluck Jonathan from 2007 to 2011. Also Goodluck Jonathan tenure 2011 to 2015, and Muhammadu Buhari 2015 to 2023. And also the significance of this study is to know whether the international relations and economic diplomacy of Nigeria is better or worse under the civilian rule, as this study covers the areas of civilian rules from the first civilian government through to the Fourth Republic. Thank you.
My name is Babangida, Department of Public Administration, matric number 180604106. I'll be taking the chapter 2 of this presentation, which covers the critical analysis of each administration, the theoretical review, and the literature framework of this presentation. Starting by the principles of foreign policy. According to ADBA 2015, it identified 3 principles, which is national integrity of the state, national sovereignty, and national interest of the country. But before we go down, what are the factors that determine foreign policy? According to Akinboye in 1999, he identified 2 factors, which are the internal factor and the external factors. What are the internal factors? The internal factors are the political structure of the country, the economic structure, the geographical location of the state, the military factor, and also the political leadership of that state. Going by external factors are the international organization, international law, and also opinions from international organizations. But what are the instruments that shapes foreign policy? The first instrument is diplomacy. The second one is propaganda. The third one is militarism, and the fourth one is the economic instrument. Looking at the theoretical review of this work, we identified 2 theories as accurate to explain this work. One of those theories are the national interest theory. What do you mean by national interest theory? National interest theory lay more emphasis on the aggregate of all the interests of the people that are living in the state. According to the propaganda of this theory, he identified 2 variables that dictate how a national interest work. The variables are, number 1, the general aggregate of the populace of the country, while the second one is that the intention of the political leader of the state. Let's take a critical look at all the civilian administration, starting from the first regime to the Fourth Republic. Let's start from the First Republic, which is Abubakar Balewa from 1960 to 1966. Abubakar Balewa was being regarded as the pioneer of what we regard to as foreign policy in Nigeria, because he laid the foundation of how foreign policy in Nigeria works. While he was giving his speech in 1999 during Democracy Day at the OAU state head office, he identified 5 principles which are going to pioneer Nigeria towards national development. Those principles include the intention of Nigeria not to expand its geographical location. The second one is that the freedom of all African states. The third one is that the eradication of racism and colonization on African soil. Let's look at the Second Republic, which is Shehu Shagari 1979 to 1983. Shehu Shagari administration was not as productive when it comes to foreign policy because it faced some crises, which include economic crisis and also internal political crisis. Due to this crisis, Shehu Shagari administration was unable to give what Nigerians deserve when it comes to foreign policy. Let's go to the Fourth Republic. Starting by 1999, Olusegun Obasanjo to 2007. Olusegun Obasanjo was able to work in tandem, in hand with the principles of Abubakar of the Fourth Republic, because through these variables, he was able to put Nigeria in the front as one of the leaders in Africa by doing the following. Let's look at the economic impact. Obasanjo was able to plead on behalf of all African nations, which later resulted to the wiping of Nigerian debt, which is $37 billion to $7 billion. On the perspective of security and conflict resolution, Olusegun Obasanjo administration embarked on a lot of peacekeeping missions, Sierra Leone, Liberia, DR Congo, and so on and so forth, in order to put the security of Africa on the right path. Let's look at General Umaru Musa Yar'Adua administration, 2005 to 2007 to 2010. Umaru Musa Yar'Adua administration was not able to perform to expectation because of his ill health. He was unable to embark on some international meeting and so on and so forth because his health does not support these actions. This administration of Umaru Musa Yar'Adua was not able to perform up to expectation because of his ill health. Let's look at Goodluck Jonathan administration from 2010 to 2015. After the death of Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, Goodluck Jonathan resumed office as the president of Nigeria. During his time, he was able to raise the revenue of Nigeria with the number of 40% in less than 6 months in office. Also, in terms of conflict resolution, Goodluck Jonathan played a very significant role in the crisis that happened in Cote d'Ivoire when Laurent Gbagbo fails to relinquish power to the elected administration. Let's look at General Muhammadu Buhari administration, 2015 to 2003. According to statistics, General Muhammadu Buhari administration was unable to also perform up to expectation because of some crises, internal crisis, ranging from corruption, insecurity, the crumble of the economy, and so on and so forth. Thank you.
My name is Ogulete Osulaferomi, matric number 180604017 from the Department of Public Administration. The third chapter is about research methodology. When we are talking about research methodology, survey method was the design we used as our research design. Then questionnaire was our instrument of our data collection. Then population is drawn from the resident of Akungba Akoko. According to 2011 population projection by the National Population Projection, the total resident of Akungba Akoko are 25,506. Though the study covers the whole Nigeria, but due to time and financial constraints, Akungba Akoko, those states was chosen as population of our study. And sampling is the procedure of selecting from the population with the aim of ensuring that the portion of the population is selected to represent the whole population. Then the formula we used to get our sampling representative, it was Taro Yamaru's formula, and the formula is n equal to capital letter N over 1 plus N into bracket then E square, where the capital letter N is total population of the scope and E is our expected error, which is 0.05 square. Then method of data collection, we use two methods of data collection, which is primary data and secondary data. The primary data was questionnaire. We use questionnaire to collect primary data, and for secondary data we use data, journals, books, and internet materials. Thank you.
My name is Akinko Sobolaji Victory, and I'll be taking the data presentation and discussion of findings. The question that civilian rule will and has improved Nigeria's global image. 34% agreed, 14% strongly agreed, 10% strongly disagreed, while 10% disagreed. To the question that Nigeria's national interest plays a significant role in Nigeria's foreign policy. 33% strongly agreed, 56% agreed, 4% strongly disagreed, while 7% disagreed. That Nigeria's foreign policy plays a significant role in her national development. 19% strongly agreed, 51% agreed, 13% strongly disagreed, while 17% disagreed. Lastly, to the question that Nigeria has been able to attain some of our goals, 23% strongly agreed, 36% agreed, 20% strongly disagreed, while 21% disagreed. The findings show that more than its external challenges, it is the internal challenges that are dampening Nigeria's attainment of a positive international image and national transformation. These challenges include insurgency, leadership crisis, corruption, among others. Thank you.
I am Abubakar from the Department of Political Science, matric number 180503102, and I'll be taking the conclusion. The Fourth Republic gave Nigeria the opportunity to effectively manage posture on the international scene. Before now, Nigeria's image on the international scene was tarnished because of the military regime. This study was conducted in order to analyze Nigeria's foreign policy under the democratic dispensation. Nigeria's foreign policy implementation and execution in the Fourth Republic had some positive impact, especially on the African continent. Even in the heat of domestic insecurity, economic downturn, and ethnic/religious tensions, some of these positive effects were the restoration of democracy in Guinea-Bissau, Mali, Niger Republic, Chad, to mention but a few. However, all of these achievements could have come without several domestic and external influences, as expected in carrying out foreign policy. One thing that is very clear is the fair environment that Nigeria found herself today in because of democracy. This is to say that with a truly democratic government in place, the country's foreign policy is driven by national interest. Thank you.